The injuries look like those seen in people exposed to poisons like mustard gas.
That's how doctors are describing what they see in the lungs of vapors.
The chemicals can essentially burn your lungs. Find the truth at BehindTheHaze.com.
At Toyota's national sales event, we don't just help you get the perfect vehicle. We're here to open new doors that lead to your road to greatness. Your journey starts at Toyota's national sales event.
Toyota, let's go places.
At Valleywide Cooperative, we're here when you need us. For 100 years, we have been here to help you with food, fuel, and good old-fashioned advice. And for us, serving is more than a job, it's a way of life, which is why we pour so much into the communities around us. We've employed hundreds of your neighbors. We take pride in that, and in giving back millions in sponsorships, grants, donations, and scholarships. It's our way of saying thanks. We're Valleywide, and yesterday, today, and tomorrow, we're here for you.
I'm Corey. I'm a dairy nutritionist here in the Treasure Valley. I decided to get vaccinated because I wanted to do my part to protect myself and my family and my customers from COVID-19. As soon as the vaccines were readily available, I was vaccinated. I would encourage people to do the research, listen to the healthcare providers. When I went to get my COVID-19 vaccine, there was hardly any wait. It was an easy process, is readily available. Since I got vaccinated, I'm confident I'm protected against the COVID-19 virus. My life has returned to business as usual.
Ads like this keep popping up, but I see through the hype because those vape clouds people claim are just water vapor contain as many as 31 different chemicals, like formaldehyde, the stuff they preserve dead bodies with. And while the flavors sound all harmless, we still have no idea what these ingredients could be doing to our bodies. But I already see vaping for exactly what it is. Get the real facts at BehindTheHaze.com.
It's not a secret that finding a new car this year is a little tricky. Between chip shortages and supply problems, there's more reasons than ever to come to our no-problem dealerships when you need a new car or truck. Our acquisitions team works hard to make sure that we have a great selection of vehicles to choose from, and our easy-to-buy, easy-to-do business with sales team is ready to deliver the same great value price that we've had for nearly 20 years. Teton Toyota, where it's always no problem to buy and service your car.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Idaho Falls. We got 1A 8-man football here at Watersprings High School. The Watersprings Warriors taking on the Grace Grizzlies, a cross division matchup. 1A D2 Watersprings, of course, a 1A D2 school. Grace comes in as a 1A D1 school. This is East Idaho game night. It's not quite nighttime yet, Lance, but it will be soon.
No, still got some more games coming. This is an early start. Certainly at 4 p.m. Eastern. These are a couple teams that I was a little surprised how they started out the season. I actually had Grace picked as one of my teams that was going to go deep into the playoffs this year. They've started out 0-3, and with the exception of their game against rival North Jam that was a 2-point game at 30-38, they really just have not been competitive against Oakley, and then, of course, last week against Raft River.
Yeah, and you look at that, Oakley and Raft River, though, two of the top teams in that division.
But you got to be able to play them close
if
you want to have hopes of getting deep into the playoffs.
Absolutely, that is correct. Watersprings, on the other hand, they come in 1-2. Their win against conference rival Mackey, 58-12 last week. They lost big to Butte County, 77-14 in the opening weekend, and then they lost 58-20 to Castleford. Castleford, another good team as well, along with Butte County. Well, as I mentioned, this is an IdahoSports.com game stream production of East Idaho Game Night, presented by Teton Auto Group, also brought to you in part by your local Toyota dealer, Project Filter, and Valleywide Cooperative. We're going to step away for a quick break as we honor our country with our national anthem. This is IdahoSports.com. We will be back. Don't go anywhere.
Lead the charge into a brighter future with the all-new 2022 Volkswagen ID4. With an EPA estimated range of 250 miles, The ID4 knows how to go the distance. It's an electric SUV that's as fun to drive as it is stylish and functional. You don't have to sacrifice good looks for great performance. So stop by our dealership today and jumpstart your year with the Volkswagen ID4. Teton Volkswagen, where it's always no problem to buy and service your vehicle.
Well, welcome back here to Watersprings High School here in Idaho Falls, south of Idaho Falls. Right now, introducing the players for Grace. The Grace Grizzlies, about double the roster of what's listed for Watersprings.
Well, Grace is one of the bigger 1A Division I's in the state. And they, of course, dropped down from 2A. Where they were in the SEIC conference with, Malad, Bear Lake, Soda Springs, Aberdeen, Westside, that group. And they dropped down at roughly the same time when Bear Lake dropped down from the 3A ranks into the 2A ranks. And so, Grace has done very well in this division. Like I said, I was a little shocked that they started out 0-3 this year. I had them picked early on to go deep into the playoffs, but we got a lot of season left too, and you don't know all the the intricacies of maybe why some of those losses happen. You don't know if there's players out or things like that. So we'll see as time goes on.
Well, and Grace, they haven't lost to anybody in conference either. Butte County, Chalice, and Grace are those three teams in that conference. Butte County looks to be good. I mean, they beat up on Watersprings pretty good, so that might give us a little indication here. But they haven't played anybody in conference. Mackey, on the other hand, Watersprings, on the other hand, played Mackey, their only conference win. So they're actually leading their conference standings because they're the only team that's got a win in conference.
Win. Well, and Mackey, of course, a couple years ago, you had the team called Lost River, which was Mackey and Butte combined. Those two schools, and they, of course, have their own separate teams now. And, Butte, I've really put both feet into the Butte camp after the first few weeks of the season. Butte has really stepped up and surprised me at how good they are. I felt they were going to be pretty good. I didn't think they were going to be as good as they are.
Yeah, Butte County looking good thus far. Well, the Warriors, their roster, number 2, Drew Ploker. Number 5, Ian Olson. Number 12, Peyton West, Alex Hernandez, Noah Smith, Elvin Lynn, Luke Henry, Caden Aldinger, Luke Matheson, Parker Strom, Landon Remmer, Carson Henry, Merrick Ball, and Gabe Smith. Their head coach, Chris Strom, and the head coach for the Grizzlies, the Grace Grizzlies, Mr. Newby, James Newby, the head coach for Grace, along with assistant coaches Big Draper and Little Draper.
Big Draper and Little Draper.
That's how
I like that.
Listed. Easy to remember.
It is. Of course, 8-man football here. This is something, if people have never seen 8-man football, this is some of the funnest football to watch, wherever you are. 8-man football, it is not uncommon to see scores consistently in the 60s, 70s, 80s even. We had one last year that got up to like 96 or something like that. That's not super uncommon. I was talking to a couple friends of mine from down in Utah, because during the Rocky Mountain Rumble this year, it was all Utah versus all Idaho schools. And as I talked to some of them, I was talking about 8-man football, and down there they don't have that. 11 is as small as they go, so the 1A division size that's too small for 11-man football, they actually play 2 baseball seasons. They have a fall baseball season with a state championship and a spring. And so, anyway, I was telling him, I said, you know what, keep your eye on IdahoSports.com when you go back. Take an opportunity to watch some of these 8-man football games on TV. And he asked me, or on Idaho Sports, and he asked me, he said, well, are there any good players that come out of there? And I said, well, you had a player 2 years ago was the number 3 overall pick in the NFL draft and was a Pro Bowler as a rookie. Of course, that's Leighton Vander Esch, who played at Little Salmon River High School, 1A, not just 1A, 1A Division II, the smallest of them. And then, of course, went to Boise State, had a stellar career, and got drafted 3rd overall in the first round by the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, Watersprings won the toss, and they elected to receive, so they'll receive right off the bat here on the opening kickoff. The wind kind of coming in from the southwest a little bit, and
well, that's typical. We get it from the southwest to the northeast.
And just a little breezy. It's supposed to cool off significantly.
Well, I got the American flag up here that's kind of, stopping just a little bit from hitting my head.
Well, it's doing a good job of hitting Matt right in the head.
That's right. It's slapping him around a little bit up here.
Sometimes you need that from the American flag, and you slap some people around with it.
Lots of games going on tonight on Idaho
Yes.
Sports. Of course, I'll be at another one later on tonight as well, as will Matt, as we will be Blackfoot at Skyline.
Yep.
That game being held in Rafston Stadium. We'll add Tim Belknap into our group at that time.
So here we go, about ready to kick off. You still got time. If you haven't got in your gridiron game picks, you could wait around till the end of this one. You have till 7 o'clock technically, so you could get a little leg up on this game and just wait for the final and pick it. But get your gridiron game picks in. If you win that week, you get $25. If you win the whole season, you get $100. So
does Sven Alskog still give picks in?
I didn't see him on the last couple weeks. I hadn't seen it
because we used to joke about the Sven Alskog Idaho Sports upset of the week. Like 3 weeks in a row, it was like 6-7 years ago, he picked teams that for upsets that not only did not upset the team they were playing, but they got beat by like 50 points. One of them 54-0, another one was like 60-something. So we always joke, we call that the Sven Alskog upset of the week.
Well, if he'd been right, it would have been an upset.
Certainly. But the only one that was upset was him. That he was so far off on the pick. Good friend of ours, Sven Alskog, now head of, is it marketing for Albertsons College of Idaho?
He's helping out with sports marketing and with the sports director for the Albertsons,
for the
College of Idaho, yeah.
Coyotes.
Well, here we go. The opening kickoff went into the end zone over the head of the return man for a touchback. So here's our opening play, and taken for about a half-yard gain. Ball carrier number 12 of Peyton West, 6'1", 190-pound junior.
Kai Clegg on the tackle, single tackle, number 47. Clegg, sophomore, 5'11", 185 pounds, and he looks a little stouter than 185 pounds.
Quarterback for the Warriors, Drew Ploker, number 2, 6-foot junior, 155 pounds, back in the gun. Rolling to his left. And he's got a man downfield wide open. It's caught. That's number 27, Caden Aldinger. It's a foot race, and nobody's going to catch him.
Well, out there on the deep defense was number 13, Kobe Rindesbacher. He's a sophomore, 5'10", 165 pounds, and he just kind of got lost in that. And what a great pass. You're running left, right-handed, and you cross it. In fact, I was really surprised because he had that corner if he wanted it, that he didn't keep that because I think he could have got the first down, if not close to it. But, wow, what a pass.
Yeah, an 80-yard touchdown pass to open this thing up to Aldinger.
Well, you take 6 total men off the field, which is what 8-man football does, and it is an entirely different type of ball game than what we see in 11-man.
A lot of wide open green grass out in front of those guys. So Watersprings will line up for 2. Ploker under center and flags fly. Probably false start.
Yeah, they are, which surprised me. It appeared to me that it was a fairly easy call as encroachment against Grace. It looked like they jumped in early, but the officials are right on it. They saw something I didn't. And so we never
question those guys.
Unless their name's Lauren Jensen.
Yes, and then always questioned. A 5-yard penalty on that will make it the try back from the 7 for Watersprings as they line up again under center. Goes Drew.
I formation.
Rolling to his right. Will bootleg. Nowhere to go with it, and he's going to be knocked out of bounds. The try will be unsuccessful. There was nobody to throw to. He had no shot. So with 11:13 left here in the first quarter, Watersprings strikes early 6-0 with an 80-yard touchdown pass from Ploker to Aldinger.
Now, Ploker, just a junior, so he's going to come back next year, of course, for Chris Strom. I think that play right there, that play call, was the right play call before the penalty. The problem is once the penalty hit and it pushed him back. I mean, that is one of those that's done to pick up about 5 yards, 3 to 5 yards, and he had it on that. The only problem was now you back up 5 yards, and that play kind of takes you out of it because you're out on an island. You got those 3 defenders out there, and I think he picked up enough yardage to have got the conversion had they have not had the 5-yard penalty before.
Yeah, a lot more room to run there, or a lot farther to run for Plocker on that one. Drew, J-R-E-W. That's going to be a tough one for me going forward here. I'll just call him Plocker.
Like Drew Holiday.
Yes,
you know? Drew Holiday, Drew.
Drew Plocker, the 6-foot junior quarterback for the Warriors. And so after the touchdown, the Warriors will kick off. They got an early lead here, and that's, a good start for the Warriors. Again, they come in 1-2. They did win a game last week, pretty big, against Mackey, but looking to get a little more recognition here and beat a team that's up a conference on them. Short kick, picked up off the bounce by the return man, room to run, and out across the 40 to the 41 for the return man. That is number 25.
Well, then 56, Parker Strom comes in, 6'4", 212. Senior, after the stand-up, he makes the final hit. And, in fact, to be honest with you, I was quite surprised they were able to hold on to the ball.
Yeah, it was a pretty solid hit there by Strom. Wyatt Cutler, the return man for the Grizzlies. And now the Grizzlies will take over on offense. Their quarterback, number 22, Titan Anderson, 6'3", 190. Good size for a junior quarterback. And a nice stiff arm on the outside by Jaden Pitcher. Pick up about 7 yards on the run.
Well, and this is more what I expect from Grace, where Grace kind of, it just picks up, they chip at you, and to me that's a very effective style, especially with only 8 men on the field, and you got a little bit more field to work with in that scenario. I like to see this by Grace pretty much all game long.
And off to the races is Pitcher down the far sideline. He'll finally get drugged down at about the 12-yard line. Another big drive, or a big run from Jaden Pitcher, the senior running back. 190, 5'11", a big-sized kid.
Well, and Noah Smith, the freshman, 21, is the one that chased him down. And this is another thing you'll see, particularly in 8-man football and here at the smaller school levels, is you will see freshmen on rosters. That's occasional. You'll see that on a 3A, 4A, 5A roster, but not near as often. And usually when you do, it's usually a big kid that's a lineman.
Hand off to Pitcher again. This time he gets hit in the backfield and going to be dropped. Nice open field tackle that time.
Yeah, ended up losing a yard or so on that play. Brought down by number 88, Gabe Smith. Gabe Smith's a senior, 6'4", 180. That's a good basketball size right there. 6'4", 180. That's an athlete.
Yeah, long, lanky kid, and did a good job catching Pitcher in the backfield there and bringing him down. And Pitcher, like I said, he's a big kid too. He goes 190, a little lower to the ground. They'll pitch it. Quarterback out there as the lead blocker. Pitcher to the sideline, knocked out of bounds. Gets down to about the 7, it looks like. It'll be 3rd and about 6.
Well, Drew Ploker is the one that ends up going out and knocking him out of bounds. It wasn't a wrap tackle. It was a shoulder, kind of a hockey shiver almost, but was able to get what they desired out of it. But it brings up a 3rd down, and I think if you're Grace, you look at this, and with the gain on that play, you look and say, listen, 3rd and 6, somewhat manageable for us. And Plocker, got the tackle there anyway. I think they feel this is 2-down territory.
A little fake to the outside, and then they pitch it back in. He's going to get drug out of bounds short of the 1st down, about a yard or 2. So this is going to be 4th down, but like you said, this is definitely 4-down territory. 4th and a long 1.
Well, and not only 4th down, but they can, in theory, and in inches, pick up a 1st down and have a 1st and goal from inside the 2-yard line as well.
Yeah, and as they continue to move the yard marker over there, it looks like closer to 4th and 2. But like you said, to get into the end zone, it's only another 1.5 yards. So they can get the 1st down. It is Pitcher in the backfield. They'll hand it off to him. He cuts up field, slips a tackle and into the end zone. They had him stuck for a turnover on downs. He slips the tackle and gets into the end zone.
Well, and here's a prime example of what you teach kids when they're young. And here's Pitcher getting in for that touchdown. They say when you get hit, you keep those legs moving. And he was wrapped. The problem was he was wrapped around the thighs, not around the waist and not low on the ankles. So as he kept those legs moving, he was able to overpower the defender and just get into the end zone.
Yeah, good tough run, and most of that work done on that drive by Jaden Pitcher. And they will bring on the crew for the PAT. It's number 25 out there to attempt it, Wyatt Cutler. I saw him kick it a little earlier. He kind of takes a straight-on approach to this. It's down, and the kick is up, and it is good.
It's good. The goalpost down here only have 10-foot bars on the sides of them, as opposed to 20-foot bars on the sides of them. So sometimes there's a little bit more left to, if it's not exactly in the middle, if it's by that edge, sometimes it can be a little bit of a guess for the officials, but they were quick on that call.
So 2 opening drives and 2 opening touchdowns, an 80-yard touchdown throw from Plocker to Aldinger for Watersprings, and then methodically Grace goes down the field behind Jaden Pitcher as he runs it in from about 4 yards out on 4th and 2 for a touchdown.
And what you notice is and when we talk about this at 8-man football, you take 6 total men off the field really opens up. Well, you got to understand they're still playing on the same size field as 11-man football, and both of the big plays from each team, the one that scored the touchdown for Watersprings, and then of course the one that got them all the way down the field by Pitcher for Grace, happen to be ones down the side of the field. And that's usually in 8-man football where you see the biggest plays take place is down the side. Not near as many over the middle, though you will have them, not near as many over the middle as you will get down the sideline. And if you have a player that's extremely quick in this division size, you can really take advantage of that. You'll see some high-scoring games.
Well, Caribou Family Dental is committed to quality dental care. They love their patients and do everything they can to make the visit safe, fun, comfortable, and affordable. Dr. Perkins and Dr. Carter are skilled professionals whose training and expertise are immediately apparent as they gently craft smiles. Stop by the office in Grace or call Caribou Family Dental at 208-425-3123. Caribou Family Dental wants to wish the Grace Grizzlies good luck. And Plocker picks that one up at about the 14, makes a little move outside, and now down the sideline he goes, still tiptoeing, and now out of bounds, and a flag back at the 35.
I'll tell you, a fantastic block. That looked like number 58. I'll have to get it. It might have been Welch. I don't have a 58 on my roster, so I think it was 56 Welch on that. Carson Welch, the freshman, went over and laid what looked like it could arguable. It might have been a blindside block. Pardon me. Yep, we got it here.
And they did say it was a blindside block. You're exactly right.
Yep. It was one of those borderline ones. That's one of those that if you're the opposing fan against the call, it was definitely a wrong call. So where sometimes you might not like the call as the opposing fan, but you knew it was right. That's one of those that you could look one way or the other. That's one of those that as an official, when I was doing basketball, and you probably run into the same thing where you have 50-50 calls. It kind of could have gone either way, that you give coaches a little bit more slack to yell at you because you know they could have seen it the other way. Where if it's one that you knew it was right and you knew they knew it was right, you give them a little less leeway.
That's absolutely right. So after the penalty, it'll back them up to the 20. So it'll be 1st and 10 from the 20 for Watersprings.
Yeah, the right side of the field is wide open.
Plocker hands it off to Peyton West, and West just kind of gets bottled up, picks up a yard on the carry. It'll be 2nd and 9 for the Warriors.
Well, and Clegg in on the tackle again. He's been in on several. Clegg, just a sophomore. Very athletic player is Clegg. You watch his lateral movement as well. And lateral movement, particularly in 8-man football, obviously it's important in 11-man, but 8-man football, you have to have lateral movement. He has very good side-to-side.
I formation with Plocker under center, hands it straight back. Ball bobbled by the running back and then finally picked up. A little bit bad exchange there as Strom had a hard time holding on to it, and they'll lose a couple of yards.
Yeah, and I don't think the senior Strom ever really had it secured. It seemed like it bobbled from the second it was transferred and just never could get it under control. In fact, was fortunate not to have put that on the ground beforehand.
Yeah, he was able to fall on it. 7:35 left here in the first quarter. The Warriors gone backwards a little bit here. 3rd and 11 upcoming for them. Ball on the 19-yard line as they are taking all of the play clock here.
Yeah, we're going to have single coverage out to the right. Not with the inside receiver, but you do get it on the perimeter receiver.
And a wide out on the far side as well. Now man in motion is Strom. Plocker trying to get around, find somewhere to go, and he just gets bottled up. 2 men take him down, and he'll lose more yardage.
There's another Kai Clegg scenario where Clegg stepped up. They were going to come to the right side of the field. Clegg stepped up, cut that off immediately, pushed him back to the inside. Once he cut to the inside, Grizzly teammate comes over, and then Clegg's able to get in on the tackle with the ankles. That was a very good play. I tell you what, they have got to be excited, Coach Newby, knowing that Clegg is just a sophomore.
So 4th and 13, and the Watersprings opts to use a timeout here. I want to thank another one of our great sponsors here. Idaho Ag Credit has financed farmers, ranchers, and those in the ag industry since 1934. Idaho Ag Credit is a lending cooperative for people involved in any aspect of agriculture. They offer easily accessible credit at low rates and local employees who understand agriculture. Whether you're buying a tractor, a farm, or need an operating loan, call Idaho Ag Credit or stop by any of their offices with locations in Blackfoot, American Falls, Twin Falls, and Rexburg to serve your ag lending needs, or you can visit IdahoAgCredit.com for more information. Idaho Ag Credit is proud to support all the student athletes playing in today's game. Also want to thank John Adams Ford for being a sponsor for today's game. You'll see little information from them later as we go on throughout the game.
Yeah, they're just right there in Soda Springs.
Yep.
You know, there was a little push a number of years ago to combine those 3 high schools in that area and possibly build a high school out by the turnoff where you go down to Grace, and it would have combined like Grace, North Gem, and Soda Springs. I don't know. I mean, obviously it didn't happen. You know, what the logistics were, I don't know. I just know that there was a push at one time for that.
So Plocker punts it away. They were in a typical formation, punts it away. Nice punt that'll roll down to about the 41-yard line, and Watersprings will cover it there. 6:45 left to go in the first quarter. The Grace Grizzlies on top by virtue of their PAT, 7-6 here in the first quarter.
They got big 77 checking into the lineup for the Warriors. That's Merrick Ball, offensive defensive lineman, 6'1", 287 pounds, just a sophomore.
He'll go in there as the nose guard there, and a big center focus of that defensive line. Remember, you can join Idaho Sports Nation on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Get updates, breaking news, pictures, and more. Just click the icons in the top left to follow us now. And like you mentioned, Lance, there's lots of games going on here tonight. Handoff up the middle goes to pitcher, and he'll pick up about 3. It'll be 2nd and 7 upcoming.
Again, here's Grace just kind of chipping away at you, you know. 3 yards here, 4 yards there, and then all of a sudden they break a big one.
Jaden Pitcher, one of 4 seniors on this roster. They pitch to him. He cuts back in the middle away from his lead blocker and gets across the 50. Going to be just shy of the first down, it looks like.
Well, Titan Anderson, the junior, was who he was following to the outside, and and he was able, speaking of Anderson, was able to suck a couple of those defenders over with him, continuing to follow, waiting for that block to come, and he ended up getting the cut up in the middle by Pitcher.
The joys of being a quarterback in 8-man football, you get to be the lead blocker too.
That's right, many times, which worked out well, you know, for many who are pretty decent size.
Pitcher spinning, good ankle tackle. They're going to drop him short, no gain. So it'll be 4th and 1 upcoming right from midfield.
In 8-man football, this is almost guaranteed go for it territory.
Yeah, middle of the field, 4th and 1. You're absolutely right. They're going to go for it as checking into the game, number 13.
We talk about quarterbacks having to do that. Of course, Leighton Vander Esch, we talked about, he was a linebacker.
That's where he played.
For Dallas, that's where he played. And he was a pretty good-sized lead blocker. Now, he's a lot bigger boy now than he was in high school, but he was still pretty dang stout.
Fake pitch. They hand it back inside. A little slip. They're going to call a holding penalty on the far side, and I'm not sure that I don't know.
It looked to me like it might have been a face mask, but maybe it might be a holding penalty.
Yeah, they're going to call holding. I thought that he did a pretty good job blocking out there, but he must have grabbed him. It's away from us, so that'll back it up. It'll stay 4th down because he would have picked up the first down with the result of the play. So, but it's going to be 4th and about 12.
Yeah, that's, of course, a spot foul in football.
Actually, it's
holding
worse
penalty.
than that. It's 4th and almost 15, actually. So probably, well, maybe they'll kick it away in this situation.
Yeah, this changes things just a little bit from what it was, you know, when you had a 4th and 2. A little different.
So it will be, it looks like pitcher back there will be punting. 4:40 left here in the first quarter. And he does punt it away, and end-over-end kick, angling to the sideline.
Well, and, you consider each team gave up a touchdown, when they first played defense on the first possessions today, and each team gets a stop consecutively, forcing a punt.
So it'll be Watersprings ball as all the way down to about the 16-yard line. Remember, our army of Idaho Sports Action photographers are covering games from one end of the state to the other each week. We've revamped our galleries to make it even easier to find and order snapshots of all of the memorable moments this season. Just click the Action Photos link to purchase prints or digital downloads today. So 1st and 10 for the Warriors. Spread out is the offense. The only man in the backfield is Plocker. Back to pass. He had a man across the middle, then pulled it back. Down the field, he's got an open receiver. It's caught. That's number 88, Gabe Smith, and he's not going to get caught. Touchdown, Warriors. An 80-yard touchdown pass to open the game, and now you best it with 83 yards on that pitch and catch.
Well, and Wyatt Cutler out there on the defense almost had him, was just shy of that. But that's one of those that pass has to be exactly on, in stride, in order to get that touchdown. Otherwise, that's going to be a tackle for Cutler. But as it was, what a fantastic pass. And again, going down that side tends to be where you find a lot of openings. And, of course, you get your one-on-one coverage down there as well. Interesting to see if they go for the 2 here to try to tie this up. And they will. Same formation as last time. They got the I formation for the extra attempt try. Instead of a quarterback keeper, it's going to be a handoff, and they do not get in. 12-7 with 4:18 remaining in quarter number 1.
2 big pass plays. One from Plocker to Aldinger and the other from Plocker to Smith. An 84-yard touchdown pass there, and earlier an 80-yard touchdown pass. So they're getting it done through the air.
Yeah, they are.
Racking up the passing yards as Plocker. And
as a whole, you do not see near as much through the air with 8-man football as you do on the ground, and sometimes you're limited maybe in quarterback talent, things like that, or in larger schools you're picking your quarterbacks from a larger, pool of players. So if you get a quarterback that can throw the ball, like certainly we're finding here from Plocker, advantage. Big advantage.
And they're getting their, the receivers are getting behind the defense there. They're just quicker down the field. And so, that's maybe something that Watersprings felt like they had an advantage all along in as well, throwing the ball down the field, and they've definitely taken advantage of it here in the first quarter.
Well, and one of the things that you also get when you have a good throwing team is you're typically a team that's always a threat to come back in a ball game as well. Running teams are usually very solid, but they're not typically quite as good of come-from-behind teams as a throwing team is, just because the amount of time that has to be taken off the clock.
So here's the kick after the touchdown. It'll be taken in the air and bobbled and then fallen on. Ooh! And I'm not sure why that's a flag.
Yeah, this is interesting. So what happened is the player from Watersprings, which appeared to me to be number 22, Elvin Lynn, 5'9", 140-pound sophomore, it looked like he was starting to slip down. They were going after a block. It was just going to be a face-to-face block, and he started to slip down, but the collision still took place. So it looked almost like a guy who was, who's like catching a ball or returning a ball and gets hit while he's exposed. But I don't think it was really that way, and they might pick up the flag.
No, they called a targeting penalty.
So he must have got helmet to helmet.
Yeah, and I think you're right. It was one of those deals. Well, the Grace blocker didn't know that his return man was diving to the ground, and I think that Lynn was kind of holding up because he saw him going to the ground, and then there was the collision, which probably is what caused the targeting helmet-to-helmet contact.
I don't think by any stretch that it was an intentional type of targeting. I think it was just kind of happenstance based upon the way the play drew out. And, of course, a lot of your targetings are that way. You do get some that are certainly blatant.
Yeah.
But a lot of them, You know, just like fouls in a basketball game. A lot of them
They just happen.
They just happen.
So Titan Anderson, he picked up that penalty, and he hands off to pitcher there, and they're going to gain a yard or so on the carry. So it'll be 2nd and 9. And, you know, pitcher on that opening drive, he was finding a lot of holes. He was breaking tackles, and since then, Watersprings has bottled him up pretty good.
Well, and if you haven't had a great opportunity maybe to scout a team out and things like that, especially in high school, because each year you're kind of dealt a different hand, but sometimes it takes you a possession or so to really narrow down how you're going to have to play your defense and even your offense.
Cutting back inside and then taken down out across the 26 to the 27-yard line. The running back there, number 25, Wyatt Cutler.
Very good misdirection play, you know, and you had Gabe Smith that stayed home on the play and saved that from being a big run. You know, one of the problems that you have is with your players, you know, your defenders getting sucked to the other side of the field, particularly on a misdirection play like that. You know, great discipline by Smith to just stay home and stop that from being a big run. But what it does is it gives reasonable third down opportunity for Grace to be able to pick up a first.
It's about 3rd and 4 right now with just under 3 minutes left to go here in the first quarter, and the hard count draws. And now they're going to say false start. Oh.
No, they're going to change
okay.
it.
The far side official signaled false start, but it was definitely encroachment by.
There's been twice that the far side official has actually, when they've called, there's been a couple flags thrown on a play where he has motioned the wrong penalty.
That's not uncommon. Probably got some newer officials or some less experienced officials on these smaller conference or smaller division games. As that is, Anderson takes it on the run, picks up 7 or 8, and he comes up hobbled.
Well, he does, but I think his shoe started to come off. I think that's what it felt like, or what it looked like. It looked like he was trying to pull the shoe back on. We'll see if he goes down to a knee and tries to put this back on.
Yeah, he's hobbling a little bit still, but
because if they do stop it for some kind of injury, he does have to come out.
He's in a little bit of pain.
Yeah.
You see the head cocked back and something he's trying to walk off here.
Little stinger.
So 2nd and 5. They'll hand it off to pitcher. Pitcher trying to get to the outside, and he'll pick up a yard. It looks like it'll be 3rd and 4 upcoming.
Yeah, very good pursuit. That time by number 21, Noah Smith. We've already called his name, the freshman. He's been in on several plays and done an excellent job. And he's not a big player. They only list him as 140 pounds, but he is certainly aggressive. And that plays a huge role, particularly at this school size, where you're going to have a lot of linemen that sometimes 140, 50, 60 pounds. And aggression really controls a lot of the day.
So still in there is Anderson. Anderson now rolling to his left, looking for somebody to throw to, and he overthrew him. He had his man downfield. It was number 13, the intended receiver, Rindlisbacher, and he just missed him.
Well, and Plocker came up. Plocker had the angle on him. He came up from the backfield from his DB position and crossed all the way over. And I was really surprised that we didn't see Anderson cut up field a little early on because, again, I think he could have got the first down on that. And by the time I think he realized he had that opening, now you had Plocker that had closed in on it and had the angle.
So it's 4th and 4. Let's see if they opt to try to go for it here. They are at about the 38-yard line. So this is a risky spot here, 4th and 4.
You do have a right side open.
Pitcher with it, and he's not going to get there. He's going to be stopped short. The ball kind of came loose late, but no matter. Pitcher was stopped anyways. Good sportsmanship there as they help him up. And then Watersprings, they're going to take over 1st and 10.
Yeah, good field position.
Great field position at the about right at the 39-yard line.
Well, and after giving up a touchdown to Grace's opening possession, Watersprings has got 2 stops now consecutively, and Grace will try for their second consecutive. Actually, 2 and 3, I should say. 2 and 3.
So again, they spread it out. Does Watersprings. Plocker in the backfield by himself. 2 wideouts to each side. Just 3 linemen. Now, short pass here, trying to go one-on-one, and they do get the coverage, and a flag comes in. Yeah, maybe that might be offensive face mask, honestly.
Might be.
because it looked like the offensive player got his hand on the defender's face
Yeah, in
mask.
fact, that's what it looked like to me, was the Watersprings player stepped out and grabbed the mask of the defender.
It's one of those stiff arm things. You can stiff arm, you just can't grab hold.
That's right, and it looked like the hand was closed. It is. That is the call. It was defended perfectly.
Yeah.
But when you get your face mask grabbed, it makes it tough to then drop down a level and be able to get that lower body tackle.
So an offensive face mask, back him up. That's a spot foul.
You know, I'll tell you something that's impressing me about both these teams is they're both very well schooled when it comes to angles. They understand angles, and angles gets a lot of players in trouble. They typically find themselves, if they don't understand it, they find themselves behind the runner and kind of making a loop to try to get back with them. Both of these teams on run plays are very well schooled with angles.
Minute 15 and counting, same formation. Stepping up to throw across the middle, and it's batted down by number 7, Dallin Draper for the Grizzlies.
Yeah, Draper, the junior. We wonder if he belongs to the big Draper or the little Draper. We
Maybe
don't
both.
know. You know.
He's a pretty big kid. I'm going to guess big
Yeah.
Draper.
Yeah.
As Dallin Draper, 6'3", 200 pounds, a junior. He's a good size linebacker in there.
Yeah, he is.
Interesting.
And he's long.
He is very long. Down the field again for the intended receiver, and he had him. It was just off the fingertips of number 27, Caden Aldinger. Aldinger already has an 80-yard touchdown reception.
Well, and for Kimball, the safety on that play, he was awfully lucky that that ball wasn't pulled in because the defender had him beat and kind of outran the ball just a little bit. And so, you know, for Kimball, the freshman, those are learning plays. You're just a freshman, you get in, those are plays that you learn. And anytime you get gapped like that, it puts you in real jeopardy to give up a touchdown.
He needed to be closer to his receiver. And that tackle made by Draper right in the middle of the field.
And Clegg was the one that got in on the initial on that. And I'll tell you what, Kai Clegg, we've talked about already how good that kid is. I'm really surprised that on run plays they continue to run at him. He is a very good ball player, is Clegg the sophomore, and he ends up getting in there and getting those tackles. He's tough to get past. I would think you'd try to stay away from him a little bit. Maybe go
the other side.
A-gap left side, if you're going to do that.
So 4th and 5, 30 seconds, a long opening quarter here, 30 seconds left in the quarter. Nobody to hand off to for Plocker. Now he's looking down the field again. That ball hangs up in the air and nearly intercepted, but it falls incomplete. That was Kimball again there with Aldinger.
Well, and Kimball did a great job, and he did a little different on the underthrow that time. In fact, what kind of happens there, and there was a couple Watersprings fans that thought, well, that's pass interference. Well, when it's underthrown like that and you are on the inside and you're the safety or the DB in that situation, you technically become the legal receiver on that. And then they have to, ultimately the offensive player has to defend you the same way. So that's where we oftentimes see a lot of offensive pass interference.
So a turnover on downs forced by Grace with 19 seconds left here in the opening quarter. So they turn it over on downs and then force the same thing as a late player runs on for Grace as they were short. You don't want to play 7-man when you have the opportunity to play 8. That makes it a little tougher.
Right.
Back to pass. They've got a man wide open. That is Draper. Draper down the sideline. They did not step out. Now he's still down the sideline. One man to beat, stiff arm, and then drug out of bounds.
What a fantastic run, and it took number 88, Gabe Smith, the senior, finally to get him out of bounds.
He nearly stepped out of bounds back here around midfield, but he just missed the line and then makes it all the way down to the 14-yard line. 1st and 10 inside the red zone for the Grizzlies.
On the first hit, they tried to take him high. And the problem is with a player that's 6'4", 200 pounds, that's a tough task. And then they tried to get him low. He stepped out of it because he had one leg. Finally, it was grabbed by the back of the jersey, not a horse collar, but middle of the back, and dragged out of bounds. But if you're Grace, you've got to love that type of matchup, particularly on the perimeter.
So a big play right at the end of the first quarter. As now we will switch ends of the field. We'll move the chains. Well, quitting smoking, chewing, or vaping is tough. You know that, Lance.
Yeah,
but
of
so
course.
are you.
I've watched many people smoke and vape and chew.
And plenty out there. But if you're ready to quit, there is help. Visit projectfilter.org or call 1-800-QUIT-NOW today.
You know, when I was a kid, my mom used to say, you know, don't smoke, chew, or of course vaping wasn't around at that time, but and she always used that thing. She says, because the girls will say, I don't smoke and I don't chew and I don't go with the boys that do. So I always thought, you know what, I'm never going to be able to go on a date if what my mom said was true, you know.
Which of everything your mom says is true.
Well, at that age, and if you don't believe them, just ask them. They'll tell you it's true.
Those moms are pretty smart. That's a good little motto, I guess, to live by right there.
You know, it's interesting. You find yourself as you get a little older, because as a kid, you always say, well, I'll never do that to my kids. I'll never, you know, when your parents discipline and stuff. And all of a sudden, you get a little older, you have kids, and you have those times where you say something to your child, and all of a sudden you go, oh, man, that was my mom, or that was my dad.
Yeah. Just comes out of nowhere.
So life starts getting real, and then you got to start saying the dad jokes, because you think, well, if I'm already there, I might as well add the jokes to it as well.
1st and 10 here on this opening play of the second quarter. Handoff goes to pitcher. He's got a little room to run, and kind of backpedals down to about the 7, maybe the 8-yard line there as we're into the second quarter.
Well, and Grace now has started to make those adjustments, you know, that end up being in their benefit. And I think we see somebody like a Dallin Draper, the junior, 6'3", 200. I look to see maybe the ball in his hands a little bit more. I think that's a matchup they like. Certainly they like his blocking as well. And he can line up as eligible.
Handoff up the middle goes to pitcher again. He's going to be short of the goal line, but down to, let's say, about the 2, it looks like,
yeah,
1st and goal.
Yeah, they got 1st and goal. It looks like it's going to be from about the 2-yard line, 1st and goal. It's a little bit tougher for us to see right here because they do have the hash marks, but they don't have the yard marks on the field.
Yeah, and we're set up about here on the 30-yard line down on our end of the field, so it's, we're 70 yards away from the end zone down there. 11 minutes here. Straight take up the middle, touchdown for the quarterback, number 22. That's Titan Anderson on the QB keeper. And now it is 13 to 12, Grace on top.
Well, and really what we're seeing right here is the ability of a coach to make adjustments. You've been stopped a couple times now. Now you got to make the adjustments that are going to get you out of that, because really it's all about adjustments. Every offense can be stopped and every defense can be beat. It's just a matter of who makes those adjustments first.
2-point conversion, men out to the left. They got blockers out in front. They don't really need them, as in for the 2-point conversion goes number 25, Wyatt Cutler, on the reception, and it'll be 15 to 12 now, Grace on top.
Well, you put yourself an entire field goal up, and end up putting pressure on team, particularly if you have that kind of gap and it's later on in the game. But a lot of fun watching these smaller schools. A lot of fun. I, of course, grew up knowing Grace well. I went to high school in Malad, and at that time, our conference, I graduated in '88. Our conference was Grace, Malad, Westside, and Aberdeen. Soda Springs was up a higher size at that time, as was Bear Lake, who have both dropped down into that conference now. And then, of course, Grace dropped down as well, another school size from there. But Grace was always, great people that were over there. I think of some of the kids that I went to school with. Tony Rude, that lives over in Bear Lake now. He's a pharmacist over there. Travis Gilbert was a player that I played against in high school. And, in fact, I heard Travis was back in that area. I don't know for sure. I haven't seen, many of these guys in years and years. But if I run into someone from their hometown, I'll usually ask them, hey, do you know this person, that person? In fact, Travis Gilbert and I went on LDS missions at the same time. I happened to be in the MTC at the same time as well. And Ryan Andresen, another player with that group, and these are just kids that I have a lot of fun memories as I think back. And even though we haven't kept in touch, you always hope those people are doing well. And so it's fun to see. Fun to see these communities that we considered rivals as kids, and now you look at them and say, well, because we're around them so much, we're friends.
Yeah, exactly.
These communities are friends.
And a good contingency out. It's a good amount of fans come up from Grace, and of course the hometown fans down here from Watersprings. Good amount of students down there as well as parents.
And both fans have been very, very polite as this kick goes out of bounds.
Procedure penalties, so they'll either make it re-kick it. I bet they'll take it where it lies.
So coming up tonight, don't forget, many, many, many more games on IdahoSports.com, including Matt and I will be up to Ravston Stadium as the Broncos from Blackfoot come into Idaho Falls to Ravston and take on Skyline. Skyline, 1 win, 2 losses on the season, but still the number 1 ranked 4A team in the state, and should be. They are a very good team. Of course, they lost to Rigby, the number 1 ranked 5A in the state, but led most of that game. They lost 14-28, but it took a couple fourth-quarter touchdowns by Rigby to pull that game out. That was played down in Holt Arena. And then, of course, they lost in that fluke in the Rocky Mountain Rumble that was just unbelievable. To Green Canyon out of Utah. They had that game won. You know, it was just a matter of some ball control and ended up losing that on the last second.
So Watersprings takes over at about the 35-36 yard line. There goes Plocker. Plocker getting to the outside, room to run, and finally picks up about 15 yards. Finally brought down out to the right at midfield.
Well, Plocker got 2 exceptional blocks as he was headed to that right side. Both of them opened up that run for him. You got to give credit to those blocks on that. The angles were good. The defenders were there, but they were just cut off by the blocks, and it opened that up and allowed him to get it. And, of course, he was taken down, ended up being taken down by number 22, Titan Anderson.
So flanked left and right is Plocker. He'll hand it off. It's big number 58 taken down at the knees, but he'll still pick up a few yards. That on the carry, that's 58.
I think it's actually Strom, 56.
Oh, 56. My mistake. Strom on the carry.
Strom, the senior. 58 is Remmer. He's a sophomore.
Oh, my mistake. Yep. I'm looking at the wrong side of my roster. That's why we have help up here.
Beautiful view where we're at. We're looking out. Of course, we can see the hills, the mountains as you head out to Bone Valley. You can get to see all the windmills the way out.
Plocker back to pass. Lofts it up there. He's got a receiver. It's caught. This time it is number 88 on the reception, Gabe Smith again. Anderson finally able to tackle him, not till they get to the 10, though.
Well, I think one of the things that Titan Anderson's got to start doing, because he's been beat on that deep a couple times, and he has the speed to keep up with the offensive player, but what ends up happening is he turns early and looks at the ball, and he loses his player during that time. It's during that time that he slows down and ends up giving that up. Stay with that player, defend that player, and as that player starts to make a visual towards that ball a little bit more, then you go ahead and make that turn.
Yeah, maybe a little concerned about the running abilities of Plocker, but you got to rely on the rest of your defense to take care of him. Handoff to number 12 around the outside and drop for a loss.
Yeah, and guess who took him down? Kai Clegg.
Yeah, that was Peyton West on the carry and loses a yard or two.
Yeah, Kai Clegg got right in there and put him down early. 2-yard loss. That brings up second and goal from the 12. Actually closer to a 3-yard loss because they were right on the 10-yard line.
Yeah. 9 minutes to go here in the second quarter. Watersprings threatening again, and it's been the passing game of Watersprings that's really made a difference for them as they've moved the ball down the field. 2 long touchdown passes and another here to set them up in good field position. Now they're second and goal from the 12. Plocker in the pocket, now rolling, in trouble. Now he changes directions.
Now we're going to get a penalty on
that.
Yep.
Blindside block again. Plocker takes it all the way into the end zone for a touchdown. But again, there's frustration from the coaching staff, but that is exactly what they're talking about with blindside blocks.
Yeah, in fact, that's the way the rule is written.
Yep.
Right there. It's one thing if you're already engaged when he turns or start to engage when he turns, but when the head is turned like that, that's a decleater now. Until that rule came in, that was just called a good football block.
Yep. And as a blocker in that scenario, you got to teach your kids, I guess, at that point, just to get in the way. You can't throw the block. You can be in the way.
Yeah, almost do it like a screen.
Like a basketball
like you do
screen.
A screen in basketball, and it is. It's tough because it's not like the blocker did something wrong per se. He went out and was making an aggressive play. And again, years ago, you looked for those kind of plays, you know, as your opportunity to kind of decleat somebody. It was not a dirty hit or anything like that.
No.
In fact, he probably could have made the hit a lot harder than he did. Just one of those that, you got to get used to the new rules, and that happens to be one of them.
So it's second and goal now from the 37. Long ways to go here. Plocker makes the first man miss. Now he's up the middle and taken down for a short gain, about a gain of 3.
Yeah, it had a nice juke step to start there and got Dallin Draper going the wrong direction, was able to slip past and then get up in the middle, but they've got 3rd and goal from the 34-yard line.
Yeah, they're a ways here, but with the passing abilities of Plocker, they're not a long ways away from the end zone. We've seen him be able to put the ball down the field nicely.
Well, and again, that's part of 8-man football as well, is just the big plays happen, and it's not uncommon.
Man down the middle, Plocker looking for him, and now he just throws it up, and it's going to go over the head of everyone.
You know, that was actually really, excellent by Noah Smith, who realized it was going to be an overthrow towards the back of the end zone. So he just kind of set a little pick there, just kind of stayed and was going to make the defender go around him. Ended up being 22 Anderson that was there as well, and Anderson did a great job. But it's kind of one of those that if I can't get it, no one's going to get it.
Yeah. Went about 5-10 yards deep into the end zone, just overshot the intended receivers. Yeah. 7:42 left here in the first half, and it is now 4th and goal from the 34-yard line. We'll see what you don't have too many plays in the playbook at 4th and goal from the 34.
No.
Timeout taken by Grace. We're going to take that timeout as well and thank one of our sponsors. This is East Idaho Game Night here on IdahoSports.com. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
Don't you just love it when you realize that you've got the very best? Like being here in Idaho, it's the best. Just like John Adams GMC, recently awarded Business of the Year here in Rexburg. That's because we want the best just like you do. The best service, best selection, best prices, and of course, the best warranty with our famous John Adams Warranty Forever. Come and enjoy the best at John Adams GMC in Rexburg, where we're founded on values and committed to excellence. You know, I suspect you're looking for an excuse to take a little drive. Hey, it happens to the best of us. It's time to drive to Soda Springs, Idaho. That's through Lava, over Fish Creek Summit, past the reservoir, and into John Adams Ford. With small town prices, the friendliest sales staff, and the best service department anywhere. And don't forget that warranty forever on every new and used vehicle we sell. Come and see us at John Adams Ford, where we're keeping it simple in Soda Springs.
Welcome back. Here is after the timeout from Grace. It is 4th and goal from the 34-yard line. 2 men split out to the wide right for Plocker and 1 here to the left. Now in motion into block, really. Now Plocker drops back down the field. He goes. There's 1 receiver and 2 defenders, and that was actually a really smart move back there by number 8, Kimball. He could have intercepted that in the end zone and just tipped it and let it go dead.
Yeah,
because
it come back to the 20.
Exactly.
The 20 now, they get it at the
back here at the 34. So a smart move from Kimball to just let that thing drop.
You know, we talk about Braden Kimball just being a freshman. This roster is loaded with freshmen for Grace, you know, which also could account for an 0-3 start, you know, and it's not that freshmen don't always have the talent, but they still have to learn how to play the varsity game. They still have to learn how to play, you know, the high school's a bigger, stronger, faster game than what they were in junior high or middle school last year. And to be honest with you, I'm quite impressed.
Well, Grace takes over on the 34. Little fake pitch. Now pitcher up the middle takes it to about the 40, about a 6-yard gain. It'll be 2nd and 4. Jaden Pitcher on the carry.
Yeah, and then on the tackle that time for the Warriors, of course, Parker Strom in there. But you had Luke Matheson, first time we've called his name tonight as well. Just a sophomore, 6 foot, 167.
7 minutes and counting here in the second quarter. Grace on top, handoff again. And still running and backpedaling, carrying would-be tacklers all the way out to the 49-yard line. That's number 25.
Excellent block by Pitcher that time, as he stepped over the right side and created a hole in the A-gap.
Again, it looked like they had Cutler stopped, you know, near the line of scrimmage. He keeps the legs churning, holds onto the football, and takes a couple of Warriors with him for a first down to the 49-yard line. 6:35, like you said, a beautiful day here in eastern Idaho. A little breezy, but that's pretty common this time of year. But just a great temperature, nice sunny day. pitch and catch. Caught by number 7. Still on his feet, breaking free of tacklers is Dallin Draper. And he'll pick up about 8 or 9 on the catch.
Well, and he's both times that he's carried the ball, that he's caught the ball, he's done the exact same thing. 6'3", 200 pounds. He's going against a couple 140-pounders out there, and he's caught it. He's been hit early, and he's continued to carry the group. And I just think that really, and you don't want to burn through him each and every play, but I think if you're the Grizzlies, that's a matchup you've got to continue to go through at least on a somewhat consistent basis.
And a false start called against Grace.
Yeah, it was an easy call. That was on Cutler out of the backfield. He took off just a little bit early.
So a 5-yard penalty. That'll make it 2nd and 7 instead of 2nd and 2. 5:53 left on the clock as it continues to roll here in the first half. The Grace Grizzlies on top, 15-12. Back to pass is Anderson. Now he'll take off and run. A big gap up the middle. And he'll pick up for first down and more all the way out. And he run into his own player and kind of rolled up on the leg.
He did. It was Peyton West that finally got down to him, did the shoulder tackle on that. But that was a designed run play right off the bat. He was never looking to pass it. Even with his step back, you could see where the ball was positioned. He was looking to run, and it initially looked like he was going to run left on that. Saw the defender, saw that gap up through the right side, and took advantage of it. Great run.
Yeah, Rafe Jorgensen was the one who kind of got rolled up on at the end of that by the quarterback on the end of that play, and he comes out just for a moment. Looks to be okay, but pitcher's the one who comes in for him. Back to pass, Anderson across the middle, low pass, but caught.
And Kai Clegg. Clegg, a big number 77 down there, Merrick Ball. We're getting into it. The officials kind of had to tell him to back off each other just a little bit because Clegg just took him out on that front line. Clegg playing center.
4:36 and counting here as Grace continues to go down at the field. 2nd and 1 after the completion. I think it was Kimball. Handoff, and I think he's going to get the first down. We'll see where they mark it at.
That went to Cutler.
Yeah, he got it down to about the 20, so it will be first down just inside the red zone with 4:20 left on the clock here in the first half. The Grace Grizzlies in the red helmets, white jerseys, up against the Waterspring Warriors.
Well, and when Watersprings was getting their stops against Grace, they were plugging up those holes in the middle. Now Grace has got their blocks working out, and they're able to open up those gaps and push them to the outside. And I think really, it's going to come down again. Okay, who can make the next adjustment?
Anderson gets it outside to pitcher, but nowhere to go for him, and he gets stood up, stops his progression. They'll lose about 4 yards, so it'll be 2nd and 14.
Yeah, he ran right into the hands of Parker Strom, who didn't stand him up. He was always standing up, just stopped him, kind of the the immovable object.
Yeah, two forces that were pretty evenly matched, and they just kind of come to a standstill. 3:30 here and counting in the second quarter. And, the other thing I feel like Grace has opened up the field a little bit just with their short pass game. It's kind of opened some gaps up for the run, and they've had some success throwing the football as well.
See, I think this is another opportunity here for Dallin Draper, particularly how the position is. You can pull him off.
And as
there
you say that, he's wide open for a touchdown. Good call, Mr. Taylor. Touchdown, Grace Grizzlies. And number 7, Dallin Draper.
Well, the last couple times he could have pulled off and had single coverage, particularly as they were pursuing the backfield.
So Grace goes up 21.
That's extra point pending as well.
Yeah, they're lined up again.
I was just say it looks like they have the crew to go for 2 out there again.
They've got Draper lined up behind those 3 blockers. Now Anderson running for it. He had Draper for a second, but he gets to the pylon. Anderson dives for the pylon and gets there. The 2-point conversion is good.
Yeah, and it was Carson Henry that he outrun there, kind of stepped him off. He stepped in for a second, got Henry on his heels, then was able to cut that corner and touch the pylon, and that is all you've got to do. So Grace, with that 0-3 start, if you just looked at the record only, you wouldn't think that they could do what they're doing right now. But again, you've got a lot of young players. You have to learn how to play the game at this level. You have to know how to take those hits, to give those hits at this level, and they seem to be making the necessary adjustments to do so.
Yeah, Grace again, 0-3. They're in that high desert conference, the 1AD1 High Desert Conference down there in District 5. Of course, they've got the couple District 6 schools with them, Butte County and Chalice. Again, they lost to North Gem the opening weekend, then to Oakley, Oakley's one of the best teams in 1A Division 2.
Yeah. Oakley's only been down from 2A for like the past 4 years or so. They were up 2A with Declo in that group beforehand.
Then Raft River, they lost to them last week, 44-12. So, Grace, they've taken their lumps in the early season, and right now, just up 23-12 is not a big gap in a 8-man football game. It's and what we've seen from Watersprings, you talk about that quick strike ability. That's what Watersprings has. Both their touchdowns, 80-plus yards touchdown throws that took, all of about 10 seconds for them to score. And so they are well in the game here. And we've kind of seen the opposite from Grace. Those sustained drives where Grace has scored. They've just been sustained, methodical drives down the field.
This has been a very well-played football game. And, again, it's really come down to the adjustments. And now, Grace has made those offensive adjustments to thwart the defense of Watersprings. Now it's upon Watersprings to make the adjustments to go back and stop it. We talked about it before, that every offense can be stopped and every defense can be beat. Just a matter of how the changes are made on the field and how quickly they're made.
Wyatt Cutler to kick it away, a low spiral kick that heads to the sideline and out of bounds.
Yeah, so that's going to draw a penalty.
Zing as the penalty flag comes out.
It's always been, evident to me that most coaches are pretty good halftime adjusters. Most coaches are. But the ones who end up seeming to have the most success are those that can adjust not just to halftime, but between quarters. And then those another level higher who can adjust between series, can make those. And if you can do that, if you can adjust between a series, you have a major coaching advantage.
So Watersprings will take over on the near side hash, 1st and 10 from their own 35-yard line. 3:07 left, plenty of time for them here at the end of the second quarter to find pay dirt, put some more points on the board. Plocker hands a delay off to big number 58 on the carry there. That is Remmer, I think, or was it Strom? I keep mixing those two up. It is Strom.
56, yeah.
I keep thinking it's 58, but it is Strom, 56 on the carry. And I got to remember that Remmer is on the line. He's probably not going to carry the ball today.
Well, and they were able to run it away and avoid Clegg that time.
Well, Remmer is actually the center, so he's more than likely not going to carry the ball. That time, Strom, for sure, takes the carry. Gets stood up, but right at the first down marker.
Yeah, it looks like forward progression, no matter which side judge you go with. It looks like he's going to get the forward progression of first down on that.
Yeah, right at the 45-yard line, and that is the call. First down for the Warriors.
And, this is something that I've been so grateful for at all levels. It used to be that, coaches could call for the chains to come out, and it just became a stall tactic. Games would go long because, you had times that are a yard and a half short, and they're calling for the chains because it's a stall tactic. Not anymore. It is the officials that are handling that and look at it, and it's the eyeball test for the most part. And if it's too close, they'll measure it. But it cannot be sit there called by the coach anymore.
Stood up and progression stopped. As again, that is Strom on the carry. Gets stood up by Dallin Draper.
Yeah, Dallin Draper. That's a good matchup.
That is a good matchup.
Short gain, 1 yard.
And all afternoon I've had that 80s song. You remind me, is it Patti Smith that sings The Warrior, or is it Pat Benatar? I can't remember.
Ooh, I think it's Pat Benatar. I could be wrong.
I just had that song stuck in my head. Now we're here calling the Warriors. Here, the Watersprings Warriors. They are the Warriors.
Well, next week for Grace, they host Rockland. Rockland up here scouting this game today.
Yeah.
You see several of their players, their coaches,
They weren't trying to hide it either. They're wearing their they're wearing their jerseys and everything. Handoff up the middle. That is number 12 on the carry, first down. And now the ball comes free, and Grace picks it up.
Yeah, Anderson able to pick that up.
He had the first down, did Peyton West. The ball got stripped out, and then Anderson right there to pick it up to force the turnover with 41 seconds left here in the first half.
We'll talk about Grace hosting Rockland next week for Watersprings. They get another game at home as well as Horseshoe Bend. Horseshoe Bend, just north of Boise. If you've ever done that drive between Boise and McCall, absolutely gorgeous. And Horseshoe Bend, that's really kind of the first community you hit on your way up.
Yeah, drop down into the bottom of the valley there with the river makes a big sweeping bend right through there, and that's where you get Horseshoe Bend.
That's right.
So timeout taken by Watersprings here. I want to thank one of our sponsors for this afternoon's game here on East Idaho Game Night. Caribou Family Dental is committed to quality dental care. They love their patients and do everything they can to make the visit safe, fun, and comfortable and affordable. Dr. Perkins and Dr. Carter are skilled professionals whose training and expertise are immediately apparent as they gently craft smiles. Stop by the office in Grace or call Caribou Family Dental at 208-425-3123. Caribou Family Dental wants to wish the Grace Grizzlies good luck. And Idaho Ag Credit has financed farmers, ranchers, and those in the ag industry since 1934. Idaho Ag Credit is a lending cooperative for people involved in any aspect of agriculture. They offer easily accessible credit at low rates and local employees who understand agriculture. Whether you're buying a tractor, a farm, or need an open operating loan, call Idaho Ag Credit or stop by any of their offices with locations in Blackfoot, American Falls, Twin Falls, and Rexburg to serve your ag lending needs, or you can visit IdahoAgCredit.com for more information. Idaho Ag Credit is proud to support all the student athletes playing in today's game. So after the timeout by Watersprings, it's going to be 1st and 10 for the Grace Grizzlies, 41 seconds after they force the turnover here. And they'll have a little time to work, see what they can do here at the end of the first half. They've got Draper out to the left as a wideout for Anderson. Anderson takes the snap. He throws to the right. It's caught. Now they pitch it to Pitcher down the sideline. He's knocked out of bounds. Little hook and ladder to Jaden Pitcher.
And Drew Plockard finally knocks him out of bounds, but not before the big gain down the side of the field.
And a timeout taken now by Grace with 32 seconds left. It's 1st and 10 from the 39-yard line. We'll stick around. We're going to have we'll go to break here at halftime. We'll come back with a little talk about the first half. And then, as the game wears on, we're going to have to talk a little bit about our IdahoSports.com player of the game. So stick around with us for that immediately following this ball game. The post-game show will name our IdahoSports.com player of the game here for East Idaho Game Night. Of course, East Idaho Game Night presented by Teton Auto Group, also brought to you in part by your local Toyota dealer, Project Filter, and Valley-Wide Cooperative. And today our great local sponsors, John Adams Ford, Idaho Ag Credit, and Caribou Family Dental. We do a lot more than just broadcasting here on IdahoSports.com. Just check back to the site to see everything else we do. We've got updated scores, schedules, standings, polls, action photo galleries, and written content from every corner of the state. And that doesn't even touch our new expanded list of regional prepcasts. Lance, here, the East Idaho Prepcast Guru. Our resident experts talk about what's going on in the part of the state that you live in. Be sure to catch those new regional prepcasts each week on IdahoSports.com. You can download the episodes and watch them on our YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcasts. Anderson backing up. Now he throws back to a wide-open Draper. Draper down the field. He's either got to get in or get out of bounds. 20 seconds. Now he's got a shot for the end zone. Touchdown, Grace. Dallin Draper cuts back across field, and Grace, after forcing the turnover, gets a score with 18 seconds left in the half.
And once again, he does it breaking tackles.
Just a wide-open Draper on one side of the field, and then like you said, breaking tackles, getting some blocking, and now they're up 29-12. And on for the PAT, that is Cutler, I believe.
This is a beautiful field. In fact, the grass is in such fantastic shape. I walked across by the end zone.
And the PAT blocked.
But it was just in such great shape. You know, usually this time of the season already most fields are pretty beat up, particularly in the trenches, but in the middle of the field. But this is a really good field, well taken care of. I was very impressed as I came across. This is the first time I've called a game here.
Me too.
At Watersprings, and I'm very impressed with their facilities, their school. And, of course, the view, pretty tough to beat as well.
Yeah, they built a new gymnasium not too long ago just here in front of us. And, you know, in the past they would, I've had it here for 2 or 3 years at least now, but they were using another facility. But they've expanded their facilities here, a nice gym inside. I've called some basketball games in there. And I've seen the football field, but my first time as well calling a game from here. It is. The grass is beautiful. It makes you a little jealous. Like, man, I wish my lawn looked like that.
Well, and when you drive into the school here, it's got a beautiful entrance. It's very inviting.
Well-kept grounds.
Yeah, very well kept, yeah. Super impressed.
The Warriors, you know, every time I've been here, very gracious. And, you know, they're proud of their school and proud of, you know, the activities and their kids, and a lot of school pride and a lot of respect for opponents as well here at Watersprings.
We're starting to see quite a number of private schools pop up in the state of Idaho as well. Most of them, you know, will compete at the 1A level, either Division I or Division II. You know, of course, you got Lighthouse Christian that has made a huge splash up in Twin Falls, that area. And there's just
and Grace Lutheran down in Pocatello.
Yeah, Grace Lutheran. Of course, you have some that are up like in the 2A ranks. You know. You know, as well. You got like Nampa Christian, you know, it is up there.
Cole Valley.
Cole Valley. Bishop Kelly, big Catholic school, the biggest private school in the state, has competed at the 4A division for a long time, been very successful. However, they got shut out last week by Emmett.
And Plucker on the return all the way out to about the 36-yard line. It'll be 1st and 10 from them. 9 seconds to go here in the first half. He's got at least one shot down the field, and he's seen that's really all he needs. As it's 29-12, Grace capitalizes on the turnover to extend the lead, and now Watersprings trying to find a way to get back into this thing here late in the first half. Remember to check out the Friday Night Flash as scores come in from across the state tonight. Those will be updated as we get them on the Friday Night Flash. So if you're wanting to keep track of all, I don't even know how many 40-plus games that are going on across the state, maybe more, the Friday Night Flash is your headquarters. Plucker back to pass. Down the field he goes. It's going to be overthrown and picked off. On the return, it's number 8 with the interception. That's Kimball. Kimball reversing field, and he's going to be pushed out of bounds, and that will end the first half as Strom knocks him out of bounds.
Yeah, Strom was able to get over there, and I'll tell you what, without Strom, he might have been able to cut that up and finish that off, and that's another one of those things that 8-man football, you're taking 6 men off the field total between the two teams. It's amazing how that opens up.
So Kimball gets an interception at the end of the first half, Braden Kimball, and that will end the half as the Grace Grizzlies take a 29-12 lead headed into halftime. We're going to step away and thank some sponsors. We'll be back for a little halftime show here on IdahoSports.com. It's East Idaho Game Night. We'll be right back.
It's time to start planning for back to school. That's why I got my kids vaccinated for COVID-19, so they can be protected from COVID when they're back in the classroom. Kids 12 and older can get vaccinated. The vaccines have been researched and tested. They're safe and they work. Getting vaccinated was quick and easy. You can walk into a pharmacy to get one. We got our COVID-19 vaccine, and I hope everyone will choose to get vaccinated too.
Get a free COVID-19 vaccine today. Find a location near you at covidvaccine.idaho.gov.
Lead the charge into a brighter future with the all-new 2022 Volkswagen ID4. With an EPA estimated range of 250 miles, the ID4 knows how to go the distance. It's an electric SUV that's as fun to drive as it is stylish and functional. You don't have to sacrifice good looks for great performance. So stop by our dealership today and jumpstart your year with the Volkswagen ID4. Teton Volkswagen, where it's always no problem to buy and service your vehicle.
At Valleywide Cooperative, we're here when you need us. For 100 years, we have been here to help you with food, fuel, and good old-fashioned advice. And for us, serving is more than a job, it's a way of life, which is why we pour so much into the communities around us. We've employed hundreds of your neighbors. We take pride in that, and in giving back millions in sponsorships, grants, donations, and scholarships. It's our way of saying thanks. We're Valleywide, and yesterday, today, and tomorrow, we're here for you.
Ads like this keep popping up, but I see through the hype because those vape clouds people claim are just water vapor contain as many as 31 different chemicals, like formaldehyde, the stuff they preserve dead bodies with. And while the flavors sound all harmless, we still have no idea what these ingredients could be doing to our bodies. But I already see vaping for exactly what it is. Get the real facts at BehindTheHaze.com.
I decided to get vaccinated because I wanted to protect myself and my family and my customers from COVID-19. When I went to get my COVID-19 vaccine, it was an easy process. It's readily available. Since I got vaccinated, I'm confident I'm protected against the COVID-19 virus. My life has returned to business as usual.
We're Valleywide Country Store. For 100 years, we've been your #1 choice for food, fuel, farm supplies, and just about everything else you could need to get you through your day. We know you work until the job is done, and so do we. For gas on the go, or a little extra to help you get down the road, you can count on us. We are proud to employ your neighbors and to be a cornerstone of your community. We're Valleywide. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow, we're here for you.
Scott here from Teton Honda in Pocatello. Our dealership operates on a no-problem philosophy that's designed to put you in charge of your next vehicle purchase. Prefer to shop online? No problem. Evenings or weekends? No problem. Need a wide range of financing and leasing options? No problem. So whether it's one of our beautiful new Hondas or just a vehicle that's new to you, at Teton Honda, we'll help you find the perfect vehicle for your needs. Experience car buying like never before at Pocatello's only No Problem dealership.
You know, I suspect you're looking for an excuse to take a little drive. Hey, it happens to the best of us. It's time to drive to Soda Springs, Idaho. That's through lava, over Fish Creek Summit, past the reservoir, and into John Adams Ford. With small town prices, the friendliest sales staff, and the best service department anywhere. And don't forget that warranty forever on every new and used vehicle we sell. Come and see us at John Adams Ford, where we're keeping it simple in Soda Springs.
It's not a secret that finding a new car this year is a little tricky. Between chip shortages and supply problems, there's more reasons than ever to come to our no-problem dealerships when you need a new car or truck. Our acquisitions team works hard to make sure that we have a great selection of vehicles to choose from, and our easy-to-buy, easy-to-do business with sales team is ready to deliver the same great value price that we've had for nearly 20 years. Teton Toyota, where it's always no problem to buy and service your car.
Scott here from Teton Honda in Pocatello. Our dealership operates on a no-problem philosophy that's designed to put you in charge of your next vehicle purchase. Prefer to shop online? No problem. Evenings or weekends? No problem. Need a wide range of financing and leasing options? No problem. So whether it's one of our beautiful new Hondas or just a vehicle that's new to you, at Teton Honda, we'll help you find the perfect vehicle for your needs. Experience car buying like never before at Pocatello's only No Problem dealership.
Welcome back. It's halftime here at Watersprings High School. The Warriors find themselves trailing 29-12 to the Grace Grizzlies. A good half, but Grace kind of showing their prowess on the ground during that first half.
Yeah, they certainly were, and they really found that mismatch with Dallin Draper. And they took advantage of that, and he had some some big plays, and I think if you're Grace, one of the things you got to look at coming out of the half is, first of all, you scored last in the first half, but you get the ball to come out in the second half. And I think, one of your crying calls at halftime is that we are going to go out and we got to lay another score up right here. We've got to send this out. Let's not have a letdown on that first possession. And really, if you're Watersprings, you have to look at this and say, hey, you know what, guys? We're down, but we're not out by any stretch. Let's go out and let's get a stop this first possession and set a standard of what's going to happen moving forward in quarter number 3. And, whichever one of those scenarios works out for the other team, advantage, I think, in the second half.
Well, this is an IdahoSports.com game stream production of East Idaho Game Night, presented by the Teton Auto Group, also brought to you in part by your local Toyota dealer, Project Filter, and Valley-Wide Cooperative. And a huge thanks to our local sponsors for this afternoon's game as well. John Adams Ford down there in Soda Springs, Idaho Ag Credit, and Caribou Family Dental. And, you mentioned, Watersprings down. They're down 17 here, but with their quick score ability that we saw in the first quarter, an 84-yard touchdown pass, an 80-yard touchdown pass, if they can string a couple of those things together, they can get right back into this. But now it's on the defense to try to get stops against Grace.
That's right. And I think if you're Watersprings, those are the things you build on at halftime. You build on the fact that you got those 2 longer plays. You were able to score quickly on those. But there's a couple intricacies that have to be taken care of with that, too. One of the intricacies is, and we found this out with the interception, late in the half, is that you can't be lobbing the ball up. You've got to get it downfield somewhat quickly. Obviously, you got to have the arc on it that you need, but you just can't make it a jump ball situation, because I think if they make it a jump ball situation, that advantage goes to Grace at this point. I think they probably got the better leapers in that scenario, and so there's certainly some intricacies that you gotta take care of there. I think their blocking has been good. They've had that one-on-one coverage that has favored them as far as being able to make those passes and so forth. But you gotta continue to execute it, because you're not always going to get that distance between you, because Grace is going to make those adjustments too, so that their corners and safeties are able to stay with the receivers, and really it wasn't a speed thing; it was a technique thing. They were turning to the ball too early, and the gap was getting out. So again, it comes down to adjustments. Who can make those adjustments? But what do you do if you're Grace at halftime?
Keep the pedal to the metal is what you do. Again, I think they did a better job of not giving up the big plays after that, those first quarter scores. So that's the key, that you got to keep your head, your mind on that. If you're one of those defensive backs, one of those safeties back there, you got to stay with your man. But the other thing that affected this game was the turnover.
Yeah.
That as Watersprings was driving, they were able to get that turnover with about 40 seconds left.
Yeah.
And Grace ends up scoring right before halftime to push this to a 17-point lead.
Yeah. Well, and I think if you're Grace, one of the things you say when you come out, one of the things you let your team know is, hey, listen, what we did our last couple of possessions worked. We're going to stick with that when we go out. We're not going to make any changes on that. A couple little things you always tighten up, but you say we're not going to make any really schematic changes as we go out right now. We're going to make them prove that they can stop that first. So we're going to continue with what was working for us to end this half. If they prove they can stop it, here's the kind of adjustments that we'll make depending on what they've done, speaking of Watersprings. So I think Grace goes forward as usual. I think the onus was up on Watersprings at halftime to go ahead and to make the necessary adjustments that they feel can change this game around.
We're going to throw 3 minutes on the clock here as everybody kind of gets back out here and tries to warm up a little bit. Recognize a few of these officials down here. B.J. Rains out there on the field. Dan Owens, our white hat.
4-man crew is what you have in 8-man football.
Yeah. Dan Owens. I know our near line judge. I know him as well. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but I don't recognize the other official out there, younger official. But a good crew. They've done a good job, I feel like, in that first half. They got what needed to be, the flags that needed to be thrown. And
I don't think there's maybe 1 or 2 calls that looked a little different from where we sat. You know, it's funny you mentioned that you couldn't quite remember his name. Well, you tend to almost always have a fan in the stands that found out what the refs' names were before the game and stuff. And so whenever they're yelling at them, they call out their name. Hey, Jim. Hey, call it both ways, Bob. Whatever it is. I haven't heard that tonight, but usually we can hear that, from where we are. Someone happened to know their names and kind of yell it out. And anyway.
Yeah, it's always fun as a, Lance, you've officiated for a lot of years, and I've done it at a lower level than you for a lot of years. But, you end up knowing a lot of people throughout the years because of that, and so people get to know your name, and then you get to know them well, and you have fun with them, and then they sit up in there in the stands, and you start hearing your name called here and there, and it's normally and just fun, and they smile at you, but every once in a while somebody gets on you with your name, and that's kind of a no-no.
Yeah, if they. It's funny. People used to ask.
At least at the high school level.
Yeah, well, people used to ask me because I did college basketball as well as high school basketball, and in college, oftentimes the games are so expansive, and there's so many fans there that you don't hear a lot of individual statements come out because the stadiums just in general are so loud unless you're just standing right by a person that says something. But in high school games, you hear a lot of things, and you can oftentimes hear somebody clear up in the top row, And people say, oh, doesn't that bother you? Doesn't it make you, for the most part, if you've ref very long, you actually kind of enjoy that. You kind of feed off a little bit. Sometimes someone will get to the point where it's inappropriate, know, and if it is, even if an official is not doing a great job, you can cross lines one way or the other. But for the most part, it's kind of fun to razz back and forth with the fans a little bit. That was a foul. It was? Oh, and I missed it again. Dang it. Anyway, you can have those fun with fans, or that fun with fans, as long as you don't cross that line. But as soon as a threat comes out or something, and the thing is, I see it a lot particularly in freshman and JV games and in basketball. You see it a lot because those are younger officials. They're learning the game, and you get fans that expect them to to be at the varsity level kind of thing. No, it's not. These are the learning stages, and the only promise that I'm going to give you is that these guys are going to miss some calls. That's going to be the promise.
Well, and it's, anybody that's refereed at that level, even as a varsity official, you go down and ref a freshman game, and it is tough. It's tough to ref a freshman game.
It is, because skill levels are so much different. And we're going to have a ball that didn't go 10 yards here.
Yeah, they were trying for a little onside kick, but it only went about 2 yards.
Yeah, and I'll tell you my philosophy on that. And I, because they're in this ball game. They're not out of this game, and I think you take that chance on one of a couple things. If you're way down, you go ahead and take that chance.
Yeah.
Or if you're up and you want to really put the pedal to the metal still, you might do that. But when you're in a game and you just gave up some great field position on your own side of the field to a Grace team that's scored on you the last 3 times they've had the ball.
And it's it's a double-edged sword because on the other side you can say, if you execute in that scenario, which obviously they didn't, now you turn the tides, you turn the momentum a little bit in your favor, and
I try it.
And
see, I look as close this game is. I says I look at
maybe
it and say,
play it straight up,
and say you turn momentum by coming out and getting a stop.
That's a good point.
Forcing a punt. But that's just me. I'm not second guessing the coach. I'm just saying how I kind of view it from a statistical standpoint.
Pitched to pitcher, and they're only going to pick up a yard or two.
Fantastic tackle by Strom. I'll tell you what, Parker Strom, the senior, Strom gets out there, and he is very aggressive, and he's really on their side of the ball, a lot like Clegg is over on the other side of the ball for Grace, where you just find him in on it. Seems like 9 out of every 10 plays defensively, he's just in on it somewhere.
So after a gain of about 2, it's going to be 2nd and 8 upcoming for Grace. Anderson. Inside handoff to number 25. That's Cutler. Wyatt Cutler takes a carry for a couple more yards.
And, in the first half when Watersprings had those couple stops and forced punts against Grace, one of the things that Grace did to get out of those was some of these misdirection plays like that. And the misdirection plays tended to kind of confuse the defense a little bit, and they were able to kind of get back in the flow of what they needed to do offensively. And you saw it again there with the positive gain.
So 3rd and a short 5. It looks more like 3rd and 4 to me, as Anderson back to pass, slings it out, and nice open field tackle by Plocker as he takes down Dallin Draper.
Well, and that's a textbook tackle. And that's something you have to do against Draper because, when you look at Plocker with that, at 6 foot, 155 pounds, and 155 might be generous.
Yeah, so is 6 foot.
Yeah, that might be generous as well. But, you're talking about a guy that's consistently broke tackles on you guys the entire time, and just the way he did that tackle leads me to believe that that's something that was addressed at halftime, was the guys, we can't take him in a strength position because he's stronger than we are on those tackles.
It was a great tackle down around the knees and ankles. Anderson rolling to his right. Now he's reversing, looking for some help, and he's going to get taken down for a sack all the way back to the 43-yard line.
And if you're Anderson, I'm sorry, you have got to get rid of that ball. If you just want to overthrow a receiver by 20 yards so nobody can get it, that's one thing. But you know where that defender is. You just stepped him off and got up through the middle, so you knew he was close. You have got to get rid of that ball. And at the same time, what a fantastic opportunity for Watersprings. And here's a momentum change. You got the stop. You can go back now, especially after giving up field position that really kind of put you on your heels as Watersprings.
Yeah, after all of that, they basically get the ball back where they recovered the onside kick. And the handoff goes to number 12 up the middle, Peyton West, and he picks up a good chunk of yards, about 3 or 4.
Yeah, and we've called West's name a number of times defensively today. However, on offense, this is the first time I remember calling his name offensively other than a couple blocks that he gave. But this Watersprings team, one thing that I do like about them is they seem to know who they are. And one of the important things is I always say, number one, you have to know who you are, and then the next most important is you got to know who you are not. And they seem to be a team that knows who they are, and I'd like to see them kind of go back to their strengths.
Handoff, that is number 22 up the middle on the carry for the Warriors, Elvin Lynn, the sophomore. Lead blocker in front of him, that was number 56, Parker Strom. And so it'll be 3rd and a long 2. 9:02 left here in the third quarter. The Grace Grizzlies visiting the Warriors of Watersprings High School. And right now, Grace on top, 29-12.
Big game coming up tonight as Blackfoot comes into play Skyline. Of course, you got Matt, you got Tim, and you got Lauren on that game.
Down the sideline, that is Lynn with a big carry, and now we've got a flag in the backfield, but that was a first down and more for Lynn, all the way down to about the 26-yard line.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a hold on Carson Henry. It looked like Henry had a little bit of jersey in that play, so I believe this is going to come back. It's going to be a spot foul. I'm going to hurt him even a little bit farther.
That's too bad because it was a great run by Lynn as he got to the outside and down the sideline. So the flag's sitting at about the 48 across midfield, and that's been a back it up 10 back to about the 30, or excuse me, the 42.
Well, and the thing is, and this is what hurts the most on a play like that, is that it wouldn't have, had it not have happened, it's not like that's what turned the play into a big play. You know, it was kind of after the fact almost.
So what would have been a first down all the way down to about the 26-yard line is now 3rd and 13. They've got to get to the 45 for a first down, and now encroachment on Grace. So they'll pick up five freebies.
Well, and that was an obvious encroachment. I mean, that's one of those scenarios where, Watersprings was like stones. They were not moving at all, and the hard count pulled Grace across. There was 3 Grace defenders that jumped that.
So now it's 3rd and 8. Again, they've got to get just to about the 46-yard line on the opposite side of the field. In trouble is Plocker, evades a tackler. Plocker still free and then tripped up for a big loss. I thought he was going to get away, but he got tripped up by number 4, Tatum Fowler.
Tatum Fowler, the senior, they list him as 5'10", 165 pounds. He looks a little shorter than 5'10" out there, but he very well might be. But I'll tell you what, he's another one of those players that he played it right. He got his angle on there, and then he stayed home for the most part, and was able to get him when he came back.
Yeah, nice job. He tripped Plocker up. Plocker looked like he maybe had some room to run, and Fowler does a good job of getting those arms out and knocking him off his feet. So 4th down now and about 15 with 7:10 left here, and it looks like they're going to be back there to punt away as Plocker, as he's flanked on both sides. No, they're going to go for it. Plocker takes it himself. Now he pitches to Strom to the outside, but Strom got nowhere to go, and it'll be a turnover on downs.
Yeah, and it was actually, the pitch went forward, so it'll actually be called a completed pass in that scenario. We now have number 17 out on the field for the Grizzlies. We do not have a 17 on our roster.
He's the mystery man.
Or Grace. That's one of the things you do get in the high school games is every once in a while someone will make a big play, and you end up having to yell down to the stands, hey, does anyone know who this kid is, and he wasn't on the roster. You end up finding out if some, maybe a JV kid that had a fantastic practice during the week or whatever and got moved up, and that's just the way high school ball is.
And he just subbed out, did number 17, so he's off the field now, as well as Lynn coming off to the near side. Back to pass.
And Lynn was lucky to get off.
Not sure what we were going to have
Yeah,
here.
especially because it came from the far side official. I think he's just going to make sure that the player was off.
Well, he never signaled anything.
But
just a discussion.
No, he didn't. So
no flag on the play.
I think he was just wanting to make sure. But the unfortunate thing for Grace there is you got a little bit of a momentum going, and that breaks it up.
So 6:52 left here in the third quarter. No score yet. Here in the second half. Back to passes Anderson. Lofts it down the field. He's got his man there. It's caught. And diving for the end zone, doesn't get there. They're going to say he's down at the 1. I think that's the right call.
Yeah, I think it was too. It was tough to see from the official's angle, but from our angle, he ended up with the right call.
Yeah, he was down before he reached out, and that ball came free.
Well, once again, they're going to Draper where they've had that mismatch. And there it was just a height mismatch, more so than just the size as far as for strength that we've seen him breaking tackles earlier.
Yeah, Dallin Draper, tight end, linebacker, 6'3", 200 pounds, just a big, strong junior. They'll have him back again next year, and he's made a big difference in this ball game. And now in number 17 on the far right side, our mystery player for the Grizzlies. It's pitcher behind Anderson. The handoff will go to pitcher. He's going to get hit at the line of scrimmage and drop for a little bit of a loss. It'll be 2nd and goal.
Yeah, I was a little surprised maybe they didn't kind of audible out of that. I don't know if they give their quarterback the freedom to audible out of that, but
so they'll lose about a foot or two. It'll be 2nd and goal from just inside or just outside the 1. 5:45 and counting. They'll move the wide out to the near side of the field now. Pitcher again in the backfield. It's just a quarterback keep. And did he get in? No, he did not. So now it's 3rd and goal as Anderson got to about the 6-inch line.
And so far, a very good stand right here by Watersprings as Grace had the 1st and goal from the 1-yard line, and Watersprings set up a couple good stops. I mean, you got to figure down there's 2 more legitimate plays there for Grace, but
so 3rd and goal inside the 1. They're just about a foot short of the goal line. We'll see what they opt here with Anderson. Just dumps it over the middle, and it's caught for a touchdown. Dallin Draper right in the middle of the field. The Grizzlies tack on 6 more. That's Draper's 2nd touchdown of the ball game, I believe. Dallin Draper.
I actually have it as his 3rd.
3rd touchdown of the ball game.
Yeah, but he did have the big run. Actually, his single longest play wasn't a touchdown. In fact, his 2 longest plays weren't touchdowns. The one that got him down to the one here in the first half, same direction.
It's Cutler in for the extra point. A bad snap. Cutler trying to pick it up off the ground, and now it's loose, and that'll end the try. And a flag on the field as well. It's going to go against the offense, so it's not going to be any good. I'm assuming that's going against the offense.
Yeah, and if it does, that'll go on the kickoff.
Or just end the try, depending on what the call is. An illegal formation against Grace. That will negate the try, and so it'll fail. It'll be 35-12 still with 4:59 left in the ball game. Or excuse me, in the third quarter.
Yeah. It's gone fairly quick. Not a lot of flags here in this second half. I felt even the first half. I felt it was a very well reffed game. We saw the typical number of flags that you see in a game. It's not one of those where you say, well, it was flag free, but not one of those that you say, wow, it seemed like the game was
couldn't get out of here.
Yeah, they couldn't do it. So anyway, I feel the officiating has been pretty dang good.
Done a good job here again as sun's starting to go down a little bit behind us. Wind's still kicking a little bit here at Watersprings High School. A just south of just barely south of Idaho Falls, just outside of town a little bit.
And again, don't forget that 7 o'clock game, Blackfoot and Skyline. That'll be Lauren, Matt, and Tim on that call.
Are you changing your name
I'm
after
just
this,
kidding you.
Lance?
I will be on that call. It'll be me, Matt, and Tim on that call. That should be a good game.
It will be.
Really, talking on the podcast, on our East Idaho podcast, we actually held it Wednesday this week instead of Tuesday because I had been coming back from Minnesota. But Brandon Bainey and I, we talked about Blackfoot. There's just a lot of unknowns with Blackfoot. They're only 1 and 2. However, their 2 losses came by 1 point each. You know, and so they've kind of got more questions than answers going into this game. And Skyline, really, we know who they are. Even at 1 and 2, we know who they are. So it'll be interesting. Great receiving core there at Blackfoot. But we'll see how this game turns out. Of course, Skyline had really a legitimate opportunity to knock off the number 1 5A team in the state in Rigby last week. Rigby had those couple, fourth quarter touchdowns and ended up pulling that out down in Holt Arena.
A nice kick there on the kickoff, and it's going to take a big bounce and take Plocker all the way back to about the 3. Now he reverses field, and he's down the far sideline. One man to beat, and he's going to get shoved out of bounds at midfield. A nice return.
Well, and Plocker's proven that he has that kind of speed. He's been able to get away from the defenders several times, not just in a kickoff situation, but also in their offensive situation. In fact, I think, personally, if you are Water Springs, that you put a little more of your offense under the legs of Plocker right now. I think you get him to those corners where he has some speed advantage. You get a single blocker out there, and I think you can pick up a consistent 5-6 yards by throwing him out there.
That's the quarterback, number 2, Drew Plocker, and he's got an arm on him as well. 2 touchdown passes in this game, 84-yard and an 80-yard, and he'll spread it out here. The only man in the backfield is his lonesome.
And it seems like forever since they have scored, those 2.
It's been since the first quarter. Now he goes down the middle of the field. It's a little underthrown and intercepted by number 22. He picks it off. That's Titan Anderson, the opposing quarterback. And another turnover by Water Springs, and it's Grace ball again.
Those same plays that they had an advantage on in the first half. The adjustments have been made by Grace, and it's not an advantage for Water Springs anymore. And again, I think if you look down there, the player right now that can do the most amount of offensive damage for you, I think, is Plocker, and I think you got to take advantage of that opportunity.
And with his legs, maybe at this point.
That's what I'm
they're
talking
kind
about.
of keying off.
Yeah,
they're keying off the pass a little bit. It seems like,
and he's hanging those up there just a little bit.
So maybe you just run that same formation, fake the pass down, and then take off on a run the next time you get the ball. Anderson hands off to Cutler. Cutler maybe got back to the line of scrimmage, maybe a little more.
Yeah.
Cut down nicely there as he tried to come back to the middle of the field.
Yeah, and Plocker was in on that play defensively there as well. I really like how Water Springs defends the middle of the field, but I like the fact, too, that Grace is challenging that. That Grace goes up, challenge, and then what do? They go to the corners. They go to those sides, and they open that up, and they've been doing so for Draper very well.
2nd and 9, a short gain, not even a yard really on the play. Anderson pitches to pitcher. Now pitcher getting a block, and now a big hole up the middle of the field.
Yeah, we're going to have a block in the back by Grace, so this is going to bring this back.
Are they going to call that on Clegg or somebody else?
I think they're going to. I think the end actually might call it on Draper.
So kind of on the back side of the play is where the flag came in. It's going to be technically still 2nd down based on what they do with the penalty. That's a personal foul he's calling.
Oh,
shot
so
block
that wasn't even the play.
knees.
They're calling it shot block.
At shot block, so that's going to back him up 15.
Yeah, and I didn't see the chop block. I saw the block in the back, but I did not see the chop block.
I thought that was 15, but they really only marked it off 10. Unless it was, I'm not sure on personal foul. I didn't think that was a spot foul, but just a 10-yard penalty on that in that scenario, I suppose. So 2nd and 20, 3:30 left here in the 3rd quarter. Back to pass, little fake, now down the field, and he overthrew Draper. Draper had a step on Plocker, and he overthrew him.
Yeah, and that's been a good play thus far for Grace. And as long as the pass is on, that can continue to work for them, because Draper's able to gap that distance on there, to get that gap. And what they're doing is they're running a cross receiver through the middle who has actually been open several different times, and then they're hitting Draper down the side.
So it'll be 3rd and 20. This could be a good stop for Watersprings if they can get it here. 3:25 left in the 3rd quarter, and this could kind of give them some good field position. They've got to get all the way out to the 30-yard line for a first down. The ball's sitting at the 10. Anderson rolls to his right. Now he's in trouble, scramble mode. Throwing back across the field, and Plocker nearly intercepted it as Kimball turned into defensive back on that play.
Yeah, Braden Kimball, he turned into a defender really quick. And this young freshman, Kimball, has done a good job. You remember in the first half when he knocked that pass down in the end zone that he could have intercepted. And had he done it, it would have come out to the 20. Instead, they were able to get it on the 34. And, he just makes some smart plays right there. He became the defender and made a great play on the ball.
So 3:16 left. It's going to be pitcher back to kick it away for Grace. And gets it off the right side of the foot. A wobbler that takes a nice bounce. But it's going to be good field position for Watersprings as they down it inside Watersprings.
Yeah. And a great defensive stance for Watersprings. And for Watersprings, 2 of your 3 defensive possessions so far, you've got stops out of. You gave up a touchdown on the other, but you know what? You got to build on those. You know you can make the stop. It's just got to be a consistent stop.
We'll see if the Warriors have been listening to our broadcast while they've been down there on the sidelines.
Yeah.
See if they decide to run Plocker a little bit more out of the backfield.
Well, and just so those out there understand, we don't vie for one team or another.
No.
We certainly just look at it and we say, this is what this team would have to do to stop them. This is what this team would have to do to beat that defense, or vice versa. So we talk about the things that each team would have to do. And right now we're seeing it, and we got a flag, and I think this has got to be a hold, but I didn't think it qualified for what was a hold. It might be too many men on the field too.
Yeah, I see him counting guys, and I'm not
sure. Yep,
sure.
there's 8 Grace Grizzlies on the field. No, or pardon me, it's 8-man football. There was 9, I thought, Grace Grizzlies on the field.
Did somebody come off late? There's 8 now, but the illegal substitution, it was Grace that had an extra player.
It was on Grace.
So they'll decline that because a good pickup from Plocker, like we talked about, running out of the backfield. Once in a while we get, I should say, once in a while I get something right, and I have to take as much credit as possible.
Yeah,
it doesn't happen too often. So
absolutely, you married right. That was good.
Yeah,
that was a good thing on you. You've chosen B Dubs as our eating place several different times. That's a good one on you. Now your close choice usually is suspect, but
there goes Plocker on the run again, and he just goes head on with the tackler there. That's number 25 Cutler.
Yeah, and as good a lateral movement as he has, I'm surprised he didn't give kind of a head fake and cut to the inside on that. I think he had a few more yards if he would have.
Well, sometimes you got a little chip on your shoulder once in a while. It's like, well, I'll just try to run you over. And a pretty good collision, and he still picks up about 5 yards, so 2nd and 5.
Yeah, I just think if that continues to go that way, that Cutler,
it's going to win out most of the time.
Yeah. Ends up winning that battle most of the time, because once the hit took place, there was no forward momentum afterwards. And I think, again, the reason why you're using Plocker is because he is good with his legs, and he can get through several things.
Now he's in trouble as he scrambles to his left, gets rid of it. The ball's tipped, and that's Clegg just didn't know where it was. It came down close to him, but he just couldn't see it.
Yeah, well, he thought it was going way farther downfield, and by the time he caught eyes with it, it was just too late.
So an incomplete pass. It'll be 3rd and 4. Well, 3rd and 5 now, with 1:45 left in the 3rd quarter. Watersprings down 23 here late in the 3rd quarter. They scored twice early on long touchdown passes and have been blanked ever since. Plocker now under center with the eye. That handoff goes to number 12, and he gets upended for a short gain.
Yeah, this was 4th down territory. So I actually like that play call. I think that's one that you know, by and large, you know, you can oftentimes get 3 or 4 yards out of that and give yourself a really good 4th down look.
They got 1 on that carry from Peyton West, so it'll be 4th and 4 with 1:20 and counting.
And right now, Grace is getting up into the, you know, into the gaps really quick. Linebackers are making it up there. You know, one of those in that situation is, of course, number 7, Draper.
I formation again. Plocker rolling to his right now, back to his left, and he's got a lot of open field. Plocker down the sideline. It's a foot race. He's going to score. Touchdown, Watersprings, as Plocker reverses field and gets it in for the Warriors.
Well, that's right there is what we've been calling for, Lauren. If Watersprings wanted to get back in this ball game, we felt that they had to do it behind the legs of Plocker.
He reversed field, got away from the rushers, and there was a lot of open grass in front of him. Finds himself in the end zone with 55 seconds left here in the 3rd quarter.
Now, if you're Grace, how do you make that adjustment? Well, you make that adjustment by now you widen just a little bit. You take that away and you push him up into the middle where speed is not as much of a factor. Now size and strength become more of a factor.
Yeah, you got to contain him in the middle. Plocker now throwing to the far side, and it's caught for the 2-point conversion. Great pitch and catch.
Wow, and the defense by Anderson was very good. It wasn't because of gapping or anything like that. It was good defense. It was just great offense.
And that's a big 2-point conversion because now it's a 2-score game. It's just 15 points. A couple touchdowns and a 2-point conversion.
But now the onus comes back onto Watersprings. Can you stop Grace? You know, a Grace team that's been able to move the ball on you. Now, you did get a stop last time. You know, you benefited by a chop block penalty, which is awesome. You take those all day long, you know, if they do them. But what you did is you put them back, and then you shut down their deep pass. That's what happened.
I'll tell you what.
And again, Grace, I really wouldn't make adjustments from what worked. You know, you had to, because of the penalty last time, you had to go into maybe a couple plays you wouldn't normally do. Or that you don't work on near as much. But I think you continue to do what you did, particularly the last half of the 2nd quarter.
So 55 seconds left here. Both these teams have shown that they can score with this kind of time left. Of course, no real urgency necessarily here for Grace, as they will, even if they, you know, they'll maintain possession at the change of the quarter if they still have it. So 3rd quarter. 55 seconds left. Watersprings just cut into this lead to put it to a 2-score game.
There's nine players on the field for Watersprings right now. Now they're bringing a player off.
Alex Hernandez, the unlucky one that gets to come off. One of the freshmen on the Warriors roster. A little adjustment on the ball from Mr. Strom as he gets ready to kick it away. Parker Strom kicking it to the sideline and just kind of dies there. Picked up by Cutler. Cutler coming down the near sideline. Fakes inside and then gets finally taken down by Strom. A flag in the backfield, though, back around the 35-yard line.
Yeah, that is going to come back whether it's an illegal block or whether it's a hold, and it is a hold. It's going to be a spot foul, so it's going to come quite a ways back from where the play ended.
Yeah, it'll go back to about the 26, it looks like, if I'm mathing correct here.
Mathing?
Mathing.
That's a new word. Is that new Plymouth education that you got there?
Edumacation.
Edumacation.
Yeah.
Nah, New Plymouth. New Plymouth's a great school. Great school.
There's some good people there. Some great people came out of there. There's still some good people there.
There you go. So what you're saying is they lost their best, but they retained some good.
My parents still live there. Get back there once in a while.
New Plymouth's a great place if you've never been there. I've always said that one of the best trips that somebody could take is a small-town trip of the state of Idaho. From top to bottom, a lot of great small communities.
That's going to be a false start.
Yep.
I think
Easy
that's
call.
on Clegg. Clegg had a little hitch in his snap there.
When he snapped, yeah, he went up before he really snapped the ball.
Kind of looked like Charles Barkley's golf swing.
Yeah.
He start.
Have you seen Barkley's new swing now? You know, like
no. Does he have a new improved swing?
Yeah, he got with some golf coach, and I was watching it the other day online, and he was. I mean, it just turned him from an absolutely atrocious golfer just into a horrible golfer. But so he has improved just a little bit.
I wonder how much he paid that golf coach.
I don't know.
Pitch goes to Mr. Pitcher, and he's going to get dropped for a little gain, I guess, after the penalty. So it's going to be 2nd and 14.
So I guess you go from atrocious to horrible to bad.
But it's horrible. It's horrible.
Horrible.
Yeah.
Terrible. Yeah, terrible. Or from horrible to terrible to
terrible.
Bad to.
It's baby steps, Lance.
Yeah.
It's all about progress. As long as you're progressing, that's
So
what's
I
important.
I was doing some of my college work down at Utah State, and he came out because Utah State's athletic director at the time. And this is in the 90s. He'd been the athletic director at Auburn at one time. And Charles Barkley came out and did a golf, this charity golf tournament at Logan River Golf Course, which just has a ton of water on it. And so a bunch of us went out there. We went out and watched him. A lot of people went out. And of course, Charles was gracious. He always signed autographs. He was really good to talk to everybody. And he was still in the league at the time. I kid you not, he must have chunked 70 balls in the water that day. It was unbelievable. And he started off, Logan's a pretty conservative community, and he would just kind of unload a little plethora of profanity when he'd do it. Finally, the AD goes over and says, hey, you can't do that. You can't talk like that here in Logan. People aren't going to put up with that here as much. But he was really gracious. Couldn't have been nicer, and it was a lot of fun. It just some pretty bad golfing.
Well, that was the end of the fourth quarter as we switch ends here. It's still Grace ball, 2nd down and 14, all the way back to the 26, 27-yard line.
Well, and again, a 15-point game, 2 scores. Only one of those requires a 2-point conversion, and Watersprings is either back in the game or potential to take a lead. And if you're Grace, you've got to protect this lead. But I don't think you do it by getting conservative. I think you do it by continuing to do the things that got you the lead.
Yeah, working, running the football and then finding the mismatches in the passing game, which has mostly been, Dallin Draper in those gaps. And so they're facing a little bit of a uphill battle here. They've got to get out to the 40 for a first down.
Well, and you and I have been around this game long enough to see teams that have gone out, they've worked hard to get a lead, and all of a sudden they become conservative, and teams come back on them. And end up beating them. And I've always been one of the, of the mindset of why stop doing what's working for you? You're not in a position where it would be running the score up and stuff like that. Plus, it's the opposing team's job to put a product on the field, And I think if you're Grace, continue to do what worked.
Anderson throws it away.
That was a smart play by Anderson.
Yeah.
And they're getting this is the first call of the game that I have to say was a poor call. They're going to call intentional grounding on him when he had a receiver right out here close, and I'm very, very shocked.
So the receiver had released and was going down the field. So I think the ball where it landed in relationship to where the receiver actually was, there was about 15 yards between them.
Yeah.
But I don't know if when Anderson let go of it, whether or not he had released already.
Yeah, the release hadn't taken place.
Yeah.
And I think he was expecting maybe Anderson to get a little more distance on the ball for that.
Yeah.
But that's a play that I'd have to disagree with, particularly with with what official threw it from that position. But anyway, either way, it is what it is. I think the officials have done a great job in this game. That just happened to be a play I disagreed with.
So now it's 3rd and 30.
3rd and Shelley.
Yeah, and a timeout now taken by Grace, and I think it might be a discussion.
Yeah, because I think the coach is going to talk about this and say
the question about the penalty. Maybe not. It looks like they're calling their team over.
They are, but they were talking with the officials first, and the officials kind of waved them off and walked back. But I think the officials are having the discussion because I think there's 2 officials down on the field that disagree with that call.
Well, it looks like it's gonna remain 3rd down either way. 3rd and 30 upcoming after the timeout. I want to thank our sponsors once again. Of course, our presenting sponsor of East Idaho Game Night is Teton Auto Group. Also brought to you in part by your local Toyota dealer, Project Filter, and Valley-Wide Cooperative. Of course, our local sponsors for tonight's game, John Adams Ford. Is trying to combine John and Adams and ended up with James somehow. Idaho Ag Credit.
Take luck.
Yeah, I don't know. Idaho Ag Credit, Caribou Family Dental. A huge thanks to all these supporters for tonight's game. Idaho Ag Credit, a lending group with locations in Blackfoot, American Falls, Twin Falls, and Rexburg to serve your ag lending needs. Visit IdahoAgCredit.com for more information. And Caribou Family Dental, dental practice in Grace. You can visit them in their office in Grace, or call them at 208-425-3123. Caribou Family Dental wants to wish the Grace Grizzlies good luck. Dr. Perkins and Dr. Carter, skilled professionals, as they are gently crafting smiles down there in Grace, Idaho.
Now, when you have a 3rd and forever to go like this, you got to figure this is probably just one down territory, because I doubt a 4th and go for it on this. So I think if you're Water Springs in this scenario, you play a little bit of bend, don't break. Don't give up the big play. Go ahead and sag the receivers just a little bit. Give up things underneath. Don't give up the long play on this, and you can get the ball back. And again, just underway in the 4th quarter, so you've got plenty of time to come back in this.
They throw it short inside, pitch back, but
I think
he went out of bounds, and I think they really didn't gain anything from the pitch.
Well, not only that, I think he was standing out of bounds when he caught the pitch. Of course, that would end up being ultimately a fumble because of where it went, and so it was going to be the same spot anyway. But I don't think that was ever actually legally grabbed by him.
So it's going to be 4th and 22, as they will kick away.
Yep.
Pitcher back there to kick.
Yeah, and I think Water Springs played that right. Give up stuff underneath. Don't give up the long ball on that.
That ball just about blocked, and not a good punt over to the far side of the field. Gets out of bounds just beyond the first down marker, out to about the 45. And that actually, I didn't think it went quite as far as the official. Yeah, right there beyond the 40-yard line.
For Water Springs, here you go. You got 11:42 left on the clock. You're down by just 2 scores. You're on Grace's side of the field. And it might only take this team right here a couple, good plays to really get into the end zone. Grace has got to be, aware of, obviously, of the legs of Plocker. But if you're Water Springs, look what Plocker did for you last time you had the ball.
Yeah, I think you got to continue to use him. And if they start to key on you and the secondary starts coming up to try to key on the run, that opens up things for Plocker to throw it down the field like he did in the first quarter. Well, it'll be Plocker back in the gun, flanked, and he will hand off to Strom. Strom with a good carry up the middle to pick up about 4.
What I like about Strom is Strom doesn't, he doesn't get up in there and try to do anything fancy. What he does is he sees his gaps and he goes for the gaps. He doesn't, it's not I'm going to try to juke somebody, step him off. He just gets up in there and does the run and takes care of it, and he finds those little gaps that are open here and there. And, all you need is those 3-4 yards runs to keep your drive alive.
Now Parker Strom, a big, strong ball carrier, as he's in as the lead back this time. It'll go to the tailback. That is Peyton West. He'll pick up another couple yards, and it'll be 3rd and 3 upcoming. 11 minutes and counting.
So you said Strom was a big, strong running back. You could call him a big Strom running back, and there's the dad jokes coming out at me. But you could play on words.
It went through my head, Lance. I don't often resist those type of temptations, but I did this time.
His mother's actually right up here next to us in the booth, and always fun to watch your children play, during these years. We got a player hobbling off the field. It looks to be number 67, Carson Henry, the senior defensive lineman. 5'10", 220. I'll tell you what, a 5'10", 220 is pretty stout.
And he has got a heck of a mullet going on, too. I noticed that earlier. He's got a great mullet down there.
Well, that might be 20 of the pounds right there. He might be an even 2 without that.
And nearly to the first down. Good tackle there by number 22, Titan Anderson, but just short of the first down. It's going to be 4th and 1.
But now you've given yourself a legitimate opportunity for that 4th down right here. Barring something really out of control, they should be able to pick it up. And over on the Grace side of it, Jaden Pitcher, he gets in on that tackle as well. That not before Blocker was able to pick up some good yardage.
So Plocker will go under center. He's got Strom and West. Plocker takes it himself. He'll pick up the first down just right over, just directly behind that left tackle, or left guard, excuse me, and he'll pick up a first down.
Yeah, finally, Dallin Draper actually kind of had to shed his blocker there and come over and get that tackle. Otherwise, that might have been a few more yards. And you don't plan as an offense of picking up good yardage on that. That's a play that's used to pick up several feet, But on that, really, had Draper not have shook off his blocker, they might have ended up getting 10 yards out of that thing.
So it's 1st and 10 at the 29 for Water Springs. Handoff goes to Strom, and he looked like he had room to run and then drug down by the ankles.
Yeah, Tatum Fowler in there on that tackle for Grace, and Fowler's another one of those. And again, I'm impressed with both these teams on their ability to stay home. You know, it was Pitcher that kind of got juked out there and got put through, but for the fact that Fowler stayed home, he was able to get in and get that tackle and not give up a big play.
Just about a yard and a half, maybe 2 on the carry for Strom, so it'll bring up 2nd and a long 8 with 9:25 left in the ball game. Plocker back to pass, rolling right now.
Excellent block by Strom on that play.
Now Plocker in trouble. Still, now he evades a couple guys, still on his feet, and picks up about 6 yards, we'll actually say, so make it 3rd and 2. It looked like he was going to get caught for a loss.
Yeah, and it was Fowler again that had to come all the way down and make that tackle on here. But what it does, it brings up a reasonable 3rd down if you're Watersprings. And again, on a reasonable 3rd down here, you can put it in the hands of numerous different players. And I think what you do is maybe you put Strom in a situation like this because he is more of that straight-ahead runner that'll hit that A-gap on either side of the ball. And I think he can pick you up those 2 or 3 yards here that you need. If not, what do? You put it back in the hands of Plocker.
So it's 3rd and 2. Plocker under center. They are going to hand off to Strom right up the middle.
Yep.
He picks up the 1st down to the 15. Parker Strom, like you said, just hard running right up the middle for the 1st down.
Big number 67, Carson Henry, as we talked about, 5'10", 220-pound senior lineman with the sweet mullet. If you got a sweet mullet, if you score a touchdown, it's got to be worth 7, and then 8 with the extra point. You know, instead of 6 or 7, because I'm a child of the '80s, and I had a sweet mullet going on. Now my mom didn't think it was so sweet, but I thought it was a sweet mullet.
The ladies liked it, right, Lance?
Well, that I don't know either. Lance liked it.
Lance liked it. 1st and 10. Plocker on the rollout to his right. Now he switches fields. He's got a man down the field, and he just leads him too far. It was Peyton West, I believe, the receiver had broken free and just couldn't connect with him.
Well, and for Watersprings, unfortunate for them that pass wasn't right on because it is tough for a defender to stay with a receiver that long. It is just absolutely hard. That reminds me of the game back in 2006. It was the BYU-Utah game where John Beck kept running back across the field and ends up finding, Harleen in the corner of the end zone. Hey there, Tim.
So it's 2nd and 10 here, incomplete pass. Now rolling right.
Yeah, we might be. What time is it right now? I haven't paid attention.
Plocker is going to pick up about 6 or 7.
Do you have any equipment there? Okay. So we'll bring this equipment with us. But we got a little bit left in this game. Okay.
So it's going to be 3rd and about 3 upcoming. Back to pass is Plocker. He's got a receiver to the corner of the end zone, and it's caught. Touchdown, Watersprings. Gabe Smith, number 88, with the reception. And just like that, it's a 9-point game with the PAT coming up.
Well, and Smith had the advantage there, not only with the with the speed to get out, but he had that inside and was able to take it clean without having to shed a defender to do it. And that was just, again, what do we got? We got our, now essentially a 1-score game.
Yeah, if they can pick up a 2-point conversion here, it'll make it 7.
Yep. See, and I think this is the place you go for 1, and you do 2-point if you have to. But
Plocker not going to get there.
So now we got a 2-score game.
Yeah, it's still 9 now. So
it looked like that might have been a broken play. I don't think Plocker was looking to run that right off the
he was trying
back.
to hand it off, it looked like, to Strom, but Plocker tried to follow him in after they didn't take it and just didn't happen. So it's a 9-point game, 7:07 left here in the 4th quarter. As it's been a long ball game. We're over 2 hours here in this ball game already. 7 minutes left on the clock.
Now we go to get a full look at the mullet down there. He comes off to the sideline. It's Carson Henry. Not only a full mullet, but he's got a good beard going. See, I couldn't grow a beard in high school. I could grow that just a little bit of chin hair and a kind of a, one of those mustaches that doesn't look very good, and I could grow a little bit up by my sideburns. But I mean, look at him, man. That's a man right down there. He got that full beard going. He's got a good mullet going.
Kentucky Waterfall.
Yeah. The mullet's making a little bit of a comeback.
Oh, it is quite popular now. You see, I've got some little nephews that their dad, they lets those little boys grow that out and kind of shave the sides a little bit to accentuate it.
See, I of course I have white hair now, gray. I call it silver.
Oh, it's still gray.
Silver. But maybe I just grow that out. Grow myself a nice.
What would your wife think about that, Lance? She'd be all right with that? Maybe.
I might be having to go look for an apartment for myself, but we'll see.
Short kick. It just kind of dies. Now picked up by Cutler. Cutler on the return, and he'd take it out across the 40. 1st and 10 for Grace. 7:02 left on the clock.
Now Grace has got to make that, or this offensive possession work for them. They've got to get down. They've got to put another score up. It is a 2-score game at this point with the 9-point lead. However, you've seen what Watersprings can do these last couple possessions.
Yeah, big possession here for Grace. They need to take some time off the clock and preferably get in for another score to extend the lead.
Yeah, and again, people might be saying, well, Grace, you got to make adjustments. No, keep doing what got you those leads before. It's been penalties that's hurt you this half.
Pitcher
hasn't been your scheme.
Pitcher with the carry. He's still moving. Now throwing back a little bit. Picks up about 5 on the carry. And I think they're going to try to stay on the ground as much as possible here to keep the clock running.
Yeah. But you've also got to keep the ball in your hands, So you can't give up maybe some of those, pass plays to Draper that you've been doing. Again, I think keep doing what's working. And they were able to pick up plenty of yards that time. But if you start getting, 1 and 2 yard chops, I think you've got to go back and do the right thing. Don't plan on punting. You got to keep the ball in your hands.
So after a pickup of 5 by Pitcher, it's 2nd and 5. Anderson in the pistol, hands off to Cutler. Cutler looks like he's going to be right at the first down marker.
Yeah,
maybe
he's just going to be a teeny bit shy, but it'll bring up a very, very manageable 3rd down.
Clock will continue to roll now as we go down to 6 minutes left in this ball game. And it will be 3rd and just shy. And now they're going to stop the clock to measure, it looks like, which.
Yeah, it looked to be about a half a foot shy.
Yeah, I think they're short as well, but they stop it. Maybe they won't measure. No, they're going to say it's short. So it'll be 3rd and about a half a foot. As the clock rolls again, under 6 minutes now. Here at Watersprings High School, the shadows getting longer as the sun sets behind us. Keeper this time by Anderson. He picked it up.
Yeah, that's
got about a yard.
Yep. That's all that play's really designed to do.
So 1st down to about the 48-yard line. 1st and 10 for Grace.
So if the score was to stay the same, and the game end with Grace winning, both these teams would go to 1 and 3 on the year. Which for Grace, you got to look and say, hey, great, that's our first victory to pick up for the year. And again, I'm not awarding the victory. I'm just saying if it stayed the same. But if you're Watersprings, I think you look at really what Plocker did for you, and I think you found a few things out about yourself this game that are very good and very positive moving forward.
Anderson back in the pistol again as the clock clicks down near 5 minutes.
They'll wait for the 5-second count.
Handoff goes to Cutler. Cutler drags a couple men with him and picks up a couple yards. It'll be 2nd and 8 upcoming.
Cutler's been very solid this possession. Every time he's had it, he's done good things with it.
So the Grace Grizzlies in control here, up 9 with under 5 minutes to go. But, Watersprings showing some life here in the second half. They were down pretty big and able to come back and get this to within 9. And still some opportunity here if they can get the ball back.
Yeah, they were down 23 points at one time.
They've scored a couple times here in the second half to cut into that lead. And kind of a counter play to Pitcher. Pitcher picks up the 1st down. He's down the sideline and finally tripped up at about the 21, 22-yard line First and 10 for Grace, as the clock will stop as they reset the chains.
Well, and Grace can all but, assure this victory if they punch in the end zone this time. Again, that's not a guarantee, but with under 4 minutes to go, which is what it would be if they were able to get in, it would be very, very difficult comeback.
4 minutes left here on the clock here in the final quarter of this matchup. Grace Grizzlies, of course, a 1A Division I school. So non-conference, out of classification matchup. Handoff goes to Cutler. Cutler still on his feet, driving forward inside the 15, down to the 14. It'll be second and about 3.
I'll tell you what, there is a great game right now going on in the trenches as well, between number 12 West and number 7 Dallin Draper. That is a great trench matchup right now.
And number 58 was the player that was kind of roughed up a little on that play for Watersprings. He's got to come out for a play as they stopped play for him, and on to the field will come big number 77.
That's the sophomore Remmer. 5'9", 200 pounds, 200 again. That is pretty dang stout at 5'9".
Yeah, Remmer coming off, and Merrick Ball going to take his place.
Big Merrick Ball, biggest player on the field. Now 287 pounds.
Clock will start again, 3:30 and counting here. No real urgency here from Grace, kind of watching for the count from the back judge, and at that point Anderson will take the snap.
He will, and I look to see Anderson probably keep the ball on this play. I think he's going to have a block right, and he'll either keep it, get it out to,
Pitcher takes it himself.
Handing it off to pitcher.
And he makes Lynn miss and goes in for a touchdown.
And that's what they used, was that right side block. I just thought Anderson might be the one to keep it and go there. But
So they put up 6 more to make it 41-26 with 3:05 left here in the ball game. And Grace will line up again in their 2-point conversion formation. They shift 4 players to the left with they have the ability to throw out of this or kick the PAT if they choose. Looks like they're going to go 4-2 on this scenario.
Yeah, and this has been the same lineup they've done each time.
Anderson takes it himself, and he does not get there. So the 2-point conversion's denied.
So it's a 2-score game again, 15-point lead, which means, 3:05, they're not out of it, but they do have to score quick. If you're Watersprings, you got to get down and score quick, then you'd have to most likely get an onside kick in your favor. However, the 2-point conversion there would have made it a 3-score game.
Well, Lance, you guys are we're gonna have to boogie out of here as we got double duty tonight.
Yeah, we'll probably just give our player of the game right as the game ends, and
yeah, we are definitely gonna do that. We'll award our IdahoSports.com player of the game here probably with about a minute left in the ball game, and as we got another game to go to, and it starts at 7. We got a little bit of a drive, so
yeah, Rafston Stadium.
Just kind of into the center of Idaho Falls, right at Idaho Falls High School. So hopefully Grace and Watersprings do us a little favor here and keep the ball on the ground. But Watersprings, they need to throw the football. They're going to look to throw downfield here with just down 2 scores, 3:05 left here in the ball game. I want to thank our sponsors once again. Our local sponsors, Idaho Ag Credit, Caribou Family Dental, and John Adams Ford out of Soda Springs. And our major sponsors, our presenting sponsor, Teton Auto Group, also brought to you in part by your local Toyota dealer and Project Filter and Valley-Wide Cooperative. Remember, Friday night's just getting underway as most of the games around the state. Of course, a few of those up in the Pacific time will be going on a little bit later, but a lot of games going to be kicking off Mountain Time here at 7 o'clock across the state of Idaho. So, high kick taken at the 22, and they'll pitch it back to Plocker down the sideline and pushed out of bounds at about the 45, 46-yard line.
Well, Plocker's doing everything he can right now to try to win his team a ball game. And again, they're going to try to put it in his hands as much as possible, I believe, on this. So if there runs, I think what we're going to see is Plocker to the outside. I think he'll hit both the right and left perimeters. And then I think passes downfield will primarily be deep.
So the ball will be out at the 45-yard line. 1st and 10 for Watersprings as they come to the line of scrimmage. The tackler out there on the outside, now up and off the grass. He was down there for a little bit. I think it was Cutler, but he's up and walking around now. So here we go. Plocker back in the gun. He's got, I believe that's West to his left. Back to passes. Plocker looking down the field. Now he's in trouble. Tries to split defenders and gets sacked back at the 34-yard line. Clock will continue to roll now down to 2:40 and counting.
Well, the thing is, you do need some long plays to score anyway. So in this scenario, obviously you'd have to get longer than what the first down marker is to continue to make it a game. So it's not as big a deal as it might be in other times.
A timeout taken by Watersprings as they find themselves down 15 here with 2:36. 2:36 left in the ball game. Remember to join Idaho Sports Nation on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Get updates, breaking news, pictures, and more. Just click the icons in the top left to follow us. And we talked a little bit about them, the prepcasts. There's prepcasts going on each and every week. You got the North Idaho prepcast, Eastern Idaho prepcast.
That's the best.
You've got the District 5 prepcast.
That's the worst.
With Jordan Kane.
I'm just kidding you.
Spoken like a true District 6er right there.
Hey, well, I grew up in District 5, so I just have to give a little garbage to District 5.
And, of course, you've got the SIC prepcast over there for the 4A, 5A ranks over in the Boise Valley.
Yep. That's the SIC conference.
The SIC conference. It's SIC. And then, of course, you have with Logan Green the District 3, I don't even know what they called that one, the District 3 prepcast where they cover
Magic Valley.
The 3A, 2A, 1As, and then you have the Magic Valley prepcast as well with Scott Burton.
That's right.
And now a timeout taken by Grace, and they are not helping us out here as far as the time's concerned.
I believe both teams are out of timeouts now. I think that was their last timeout. I could be wrong. Watersprings has used all three, but I believe Grace now has used all three of theirs. If you've never been down to the Grace area, what a beautiful area. You go down there, and, of course, you cross the pass from Lava Hot Springs. You drop in, and then you can, right at the bottom of the pass there at Lund, you can take a left and go up into Bancroft, Chesterfield, that area, or you go straight. And before you get to the lake there, short of Soda Springs, you can take a right and head down to Grace, that area. Go straight and go over to Soda. And, of course, you continue going. You go down into Montpelier, Bear Lake area. Beautiful place. We love to go down to Lava Hot Springs.
It is a nice place down there, and you have to say lava. When you're in lava, you have to say lava.
I know. So, when I moved up, I called it lava when I first moved to Idaho, and I kept getting corrected. People said, up here we call it lava. I'm like, okay. I'll call it lava then.
I call it lava when I'm in lava.
While in Rome.
Yeah, while in lava, you say lava.
That's right.
2:36 left to go in this ball game. Plocker rolling to his left. Throws underneath and incomplete. It was intended for Peyton West.
And Plocker, that play was designed for Plocker actually to run that. It was going to be a decoy with the receiver, but then because of the pursuit on the angle in the backfield, he had to get rid of it as well. And that's what it is. Your decoy in that situation is going to be your bailout.
So 2:30 left now on the clock. It looks like Grace is going to come away with a win, barring something spectacular happening here late in this ball game. Grace Grizzlies trying to move to 1-3, and that was going to stay inbounds, and now an injured player will stop the clock.
Okay, so I guess Watersprings, I was backwards on my timeouts. Watersprings had one more timeout, and they just used it. So that's it for them with 2:23 remaining.
Did they take it, or they did take it?
Yep,
Sorry,
they just took it.
Okay, I thought maybe they just tried to stop the clock for the injured player, but it looks like Watersprings did decide to take their timeout. And yes, they did. So 2:23 left. Watersprings burns their final timeout, 26-41.
And 4th and 13 to go.
In about 1 minute, we're going to award our IdahoSports.com player of the game. We don't want to be too, quick
Hasty,
with this.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen what Blocker's passes did in the first half. Two bombs, and you never know. A bomb and a onside kick could completely change the structure of a game like this.
Yeah, some late heroics could change our mind significantly on the player of the game in this ball game.
That's right.
Once again, there's a lot of games going on IdahoSports.com tonight, so take a look at those. There's some audio games from across the state as well as video. We're going to have another one from you, Matt and Lance and Tim. We might be a little late getting on the air with that one at this point, but that Blackfoot Skyline game will be on. We'll definitely get you hopefully halfway through the first quarter at worst.
Well, we'll get set up quick because Lauren's coming with us to help us set the equipment up and get that game going. So that's going to be a really, really good one.
Yeah, it's going to be great. We're going to get over there and get things set up. So
Lauren and I actually both live in Sugar City.
Yeah. So Plocker back in the gun, back to pass. Strom now with it, and they throw it downfield. It was kind of a lame duck, and it goes incomplete. Strom just didn't quite get a hold of it.
Well, and I'll tell you what, it was still catchable.
Yeah.
And had it have been caught, because the ball was put out there for number 88, Gabe Smith, the senior wide receiver, and he's got good hands. He's already got a touchdown tonight, a couple of them. But if he'd have been able to pull that out, it was a first down. Drive stays alive. But now you're just going to see Grace, for the most part, run a play or two and then nil it out.
And I saw Strom kind of motion. He has gloves on, and he's like, I probably should have taken those off. Just couldn't quite get the grip on it as he let go of it, and it kind of came out a little lame. And with 2:17 left, it's Grace football on the turnover on downs, and they'll have a good opportunity to run this clock out.
I really like the mascot logo that the Warriors have. You look at it up inside the building, also down in the middle of the field, and the Warrior mask, that's a really.
It's kind of got a W look to it.
And the shield around it. I think that's really well done and simple. And I love, the more simpler the better. I always say my favorite football helmets in college are Penn State's and Notre Dame's because they're just plain. There's nothing on them,
Yeah. So last time out, I think now taken by Watersprings, as they just called it.
Grace must have called two of the timeouts that I thought were for Watersprings.
So 2:09 left on the clock here, as it looks like Grace going to come away with the win here with just a couple minutes left on the clock and in charge with a second and about 6 to go. The ball sitting on the 38-yard line. Watersprings, though, they put up a good second half. They got themselves back into this ball game, had an opportunity to cut it to a single score and missed on a 2-point conversion.
Well, and Grace, I always look for like the little trivial things, sometimes that kind of make a game. And here you go, you got Watersprings, which is a religious private school, and then and you have Grace that like Grace.
Yeah.
And so you could, and of course Grace can be used, biblically, it can be used to show poise, Grace. But you got a religious school playing Grace, and you almost think Watersprings could have been the Watersprings Grace if they would have wanted to, being a religious school. But this is these are those trivial things.
Drawing some conclusions here between these two schools, and yeah, it's been a good experience. Anytime that I've come to Watersprings and interacted with their players and coaching and just staff overall, it's been a great experience.
Well, they've hosted a good game for us tonight, and
Yes.
Grace has just played the better football.
On the run goes Anderson. Now he lets go of it, and it's going to be intercepted, picked off at about the 10. A flag comes out well downfield, and Plocker now gets taken out of bounds at about the 40. So we'll see what the flag is.
I think it's actually going to be a pass interference.
Not allowing the receiver to come back. That'll be an interesting call if it is.
In fact, I think he might have even pushed him
out
of the way, but we'll see what it is.
So a little discussion from the officials over there with a minute 53 left.
And at the same point, I wouldn't be surprised if they waved it off either. Yep, they're waving it off.
And I like that. It was well underthrown. I mean, if there was contact, it was 10 yards downfield from where the ball was caught.
That's right. And in order to get that penalty to stop him from coming back, it's got to be reasonable that he could get back and catch it as well, and it just wasn't.
I mean, you can't just grab onto the guy and tackle him, but it wasn't that. It was more just jostling for position.
Yeah, I think that's the right call if the ball was a little bit deeper thrown.
Yes. So a minute 53, a little life back here for the Watersprings Warriors. Just a crack still open in that door. A little light showing through here as Plocker back in the gun again. Fakes the handoff to Strom, but then he gets hit in the backfield.
I'll tell you what, defensively in the second half here, Tatum Fowler, the senior outside linebacker, has been nothing short of fantastic for Grace. You know, in the first half, what we saw Kai Clegg a lot. But what happened in the second half, they started going away from Clegg. It ended up being Fowler that was the beneficiary.
Yeah, Fowler's really stepped up when they've come at him. Back to passes, Plocker. He goes down the field, good-looking spiral throw, but behind the intended receiver, Gabe Smith, and they can't get back to it.
Fantastic throw.
Yeah.
We got a couple players now, or it's getting a little chippy between a couple of the linemen. Expected a little bit.
Well, with just a minute 22 left here, we're going to award our IdahoSports.com player of the game. And it's going to go to, he was a big difference maker in this ball game, really opened things up for the Grace Grizzlies. It's going to go to number 7, Dallin Draper, the tight end. He 3 touchdown scored from Draper, and he kind of just opened things up, helped Grace get the lead.
Yeah, particularly in that second quarter.
Yeah.
When it looked like Watersprings, their defense had really figured out Grace offensively, and Grace started going to Draper, and Draper really was the difference.
So congratulations to number 7, Dallin Draper, our IdahoSports.com player of the game for the Grace Grizzlies. And with it 4th down now here and about 14 to go with a minute 18 left on the clock, we'll see what Watersprings can do here. Kind of a last hurrah here on 4th and 13.
Yeah, basically the same place they were last time. The Sticks have not had to do a lot of changes for either team.
Well, as we are going to wrap things up a little early here on IdahoSports.com, try to get to the next East Idaho game night. Is that ball well into the air and caught? Great catch by number 22, Lynn. And Cutler, as he got up, I don't know if he was hung up with him, but kind of was smashing Lynn into the ground. They get up, and now the ball is spiked with a minute 7 left. So right as I say, we might cut out a little early here.
Yeah, this game is not over, and I'll tell you what, if Watersprings scores here, this game's definitely not over because all it would take is an onside kick.
I'll tell you what, number 67 is cramping up down there.
Yeah,
that
he has been.
For number 67, that's Carson Henry. His hamstring, he can't even bend that leg.
And it's an official's timeout, so he has to come out of the game because there's no timeouts left for Watersprings.
Yeah, poor kid, that right hamstring, he is hobbling.
His number 67, his helmet is number 22.
And now they're going to stretch that out, and that hurts. That just makes me hurt looking at it. Rolling to his right is Plocker, trying to look for room to run. And finally out of bounds at about the 12.
Yeah, so that stops the clock automatically there, and we're at a minute. At 51 years old, I have seen stranger things. And I'm not talking about the series on Netflix, which, by the way, is awesome.
It is a good series.
Really ticked off that it's not coming out until February of 22, season 4. I've really been waiting and hunkering down for that. But anyway, aside from that, I've seen stranger things in football.
So 1st and 10 from the 12 for Watersprings with a minute left here. 59 seconds actually on the clock. Down 2 scores. They're down 15. Plocker
He's got
rolling
single
right.
coverage left.
And they get it out of bounds to the receiver number 27 on the catch. That is Caden Aldinger.
Yeah, and that's the first time we've called the senior Aldinger's name tonight. He's a wide receiver and a DB.
Well, he caught the touchdown pass
very
early.
Very first, yep.
But you're right, he's been kind of quiet since then. And 2nd and 8 now for Watersprings. Well, this has been an IdahoSports.com game stream production of East Idaho Game Night, presented by Teton Auto Group. Our major sponsors that make coverage possible on IdahoSports.com include your local Toyota dealer, Toyota Let's Go Places, Valley-Wide Cooperative and Country Stores, and Project Filter, Idaho Fights Tobacco. Plocker to the end zone. It's intercepted for a touchback, I believe.
Yeah, that'll come out to the 20-yard line for Grace.
And that'll pretty much do it.
Yeah. Interception by Grace's number 22, Anderson. He's done a great job all game long for them. Titan Anderson, that's his 2nd pick, actually, of the ball game.
We also want to thank our local sponsors for tonight, our local helping us get this broadcast to you. It's John Adams Ford out of Soda Springs, Idaho Ag Credit, and Caribou Family Dental. A huge thanks to them. And congratulations again to Dallin Draper, our IdahoSports.com player of the game. And thanks for joining us here at Watersprings High School as the Grace Grizzlies are going to come out of here with a W as they take a knee. That'll just about do it. They might have to kneel it one more time. But they will defeat the Watersprings Warriors by a score of 41-26.
Well, and kudos to Watersprings. Nobody could leave this game early. You know, they kept us right down to the wire.
And that'll do it. That'll be the ball game as Grace will come out of here with a win. They'll move to 1-3, as will the Warriors. For my broadcast partners, Lance Taylor and Matt Kelly, thanks for being with us tonight. We're going to get out of here and head to the next one. A good game here tonight, though. Once again, the Grace Grizzlies defeat the Watersprings Warriors 41-26 here on East Idaho Game Night. Have a great night.
This has been a presentation of IdahoSports.com Game Stream.